I think I'll go to Amherst tomorrow. I think I might have to find a microphone. I think I'm going to do that.
I'll help you this afternoon look for one on Amazon. Okay.
Yeah.
One for your iPad.
That'd be cool.
You need to get one that has like kind of middle of the road. Like you want something that is like has really good reviews. Like you don't want to cheap out on a microphone, basically.
Oh, I know. Oh, good Lord.
But yeah, we are officially shut down here.
That stinks.
Okay. Hey, yes, sharing a page I manage. Well, put up the pages. I'm trying to get into the live and it's giving me hell.
Oh.
There we go, finally. Hey, come on.
What's the deal now?
Pardon?
You okay?
Yeah. It was just giving me hell for... Okay, now we're starting to go into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know that quote from Fredericksburg where that soldier said that he felt like he was being like the pilot in the wheelhouse was leading them towards rocks.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically our leadership right now, and that's why we're shut down, because they have no idea what they're doing.
Oh.
It was the vaccine. The vaccine rollout was okay.
No, that's a big mess though. That vaccine thing.
Yeah.
I mean, here it's not as bad, fortunately.
No, here it's you know, I mean, we got everybody in the retirement homes and nursing homes vaccinated, which I 1000% agreed with, but I didn't agree with the like it's just not good.
No, well, I'll get there. Vaccinated soon. Someday I'll probably turn into a fucking werewolf. Hopefully. That'd be odd. That you know what though? I'd welcome that. I think I would.
Okay, we're going live.
Okay. I think there is a missed opportunity though for the people. You know, I've always thought like, you know, like this vaccine thing, like if you know, there we go. Like I've always thought it is such a great missed opportunity. Like if I were the first person, honestly, to get the vaccine, you know how like they were all on TV, like they showed like the first guy, I would have like started hyperventilating and pretending I was turning into a werewolf or something. I would have
done the same thing.
Oh my god, but they would have thrown me out. That would have been it. I would have to hope it was the one-shot one, right? I think a lot of these places are. It's one. Moderna is the 2-shot. That's from here in Massachusetts. That company.
Yeah, Moderna and Pfizer are the 2-shot ones. Hey, Barbara.
And Johnson & Johnson is the other one.
Johnson and Johnson is the 1-shot.
Oh.
I think Pfizer, Moderna, and I think there's one other one. I think that is AstraZeneca or something. Morning, Lori. No. Morning, Snyder.
No, hey.
Morning, Charles.
I did notice it went live this time. By the way, I did notice because you just said it this time.
I've said it every single time. It's not my problem. You don't fucking pay attention to me.
That's okay. It's just one of those days, I guess. Anyway, good morning, everybody. But I think that'll be a good thing when I finally get that. When I finally get my shot, I'm going to do it. I may pretend I'm turning into a werewolf when I get the shot immediately. I'm going to do something.
I'm looking at June right now for my first.
I should just start talking like Spanish, going, I don't even know how to speak Spanish. This thing's a miracle.
Start talking Russian.
Oh, there we go. Talk Russian. If I get thrown in some friggin' tent or something, taken off fucking Gitmo or somewhere. No thanks.
Anyway.
Pfizer cured me. Yeah, look, hey, Andrea. Hey, thanks for checking in. Yeah, we had some user error going on.
Sorry.
Deep from the wilderness of the north, there was some internet problems. And, you know.
Hey, Richard.
Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up? Happy belated birthday, Jacob. Hope you like my picture I left on your Facebook page. It was very good. It was a championship picture I put on your Facebook, by the way.
Hey, Jim. Good morning.
Hey, Jim. Yeah, so that whole thing's going on. So we'll see. So that sucks. You get shut down again.
Yeah, it's I got to go out last night to my favorite restaurant just to support them. I mean, we can still order takeout and all that,
Went to
but
Wendy's last night?
yeah, Wendy's.
I do like Wendy's.
Good old Bayfield.
Oh, there you go. No,
Yeah.
Bayfield. I know you went to Bay. I know you went to Bayfield.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. No, so I mean, I guess I'm gonna be, I don't know, not going out.
You're gonna be a shut-in. You're gonna be a prisoner in your own house for a while. I can still go out. I can still go out here. I'm gonna go out this afternoon. You know, I'm gonna go out just because I can, because I know you can't. So I'm gonna go out today. I'm still gonna do it today. I'm gonna, just because I want to. I don't even want to. I just because I can.
Hey, John. Hey, Jim. Good morning.
Everybody jumping on early. Wow. Top of the morning to everybody. Hope now Laurie get you a second shot in a week. That's good. Good for you. Good for everybody getting their shot.
Hey,
Everybody's getting their shots.
Hey, Ali K.
It is funny because, you know, I'll go into the bank and the rules for years you can't wear you know, you're a mask in a bank, obviously. Now they want you to wear the mask. You walk in and they tell you to put your mask on. It's just a bizarro world, you know. I'm surprised there haven't been more bank robberies with COVID. You think about it, right? Everyone's wearing a mask anyway.
I think crime's down overall. We're really staying on the history talk this morning.
I know we gotta wake up. We got a few minutes to get you in the mood to get you going. Good Lord, you today. Okay. All right, fine. That's okay. So yeah. So anyway, so we had our latest and greatest podcast on Shiloh. That was a fun one. I enjoyed that one. That was I think Shiloh was one of those battles. I think when even the non-Civil War people enjoy Shiloh, or at least study it, because it's just one of, like we said in the podcast. Maybe I dreamt it. Who the hell knows? But it's like when you just hearing the word Shiloh is like the word Antietam or the word Gettysburg. It just brings up memories. What are you laughing at?
Andrea's comment. What the fuck is that rattling?
You're rattling?
It's his microphone, Andrea.
Oh, you can hear that too.
Yeah.
The problem is with this beard thing is it rubs against it and it makes a noise. So there's my fucking rattling. So there you go. I can't even freaking hear it. So fucking deal. Okay. Deal with it. It might be the rattling in your head, Andrea, by the way. Just saying.
Jacob marries your Zoom name after the Princess Diaries. No, it's for Beauregard.
Oh, actually, why is my name? I don't know. I fix my name. Let me change my name right now. How's that? Then we get started with this. I'm just gonna go with the obvious one. Okay. There. Okay. Anyway, so I upgrade to a good mic. No shit. Yeah, we've been talking about that. Part of the fun of this morning. You know.
Hey, Jen.
We're talking about going again one today. So.
Hey, Jim.
Anyway, yeah. So as we were saying before about Shiloh, is I think it's one of those battles where, like so many of these, how everything could be, could change on a dime, right? It's just so much about this, and how lucky, you gotta be good to win, but you also gotta be lucky, right? It's like it's like a big football game or a Super Bowl. You can be the best team in the world. If you don't get the breaks, you're still not gonna win. And they definitely got the breaks. There's no doubt about it. Okay.
Someone suggesting you ponytail your beard. Snyder suggested you ponytail your beard.
I could. I'm almost the level I can do an Elphius Williams. Though. Yeah. See, I can do this. I just gotta wax it up a little bit, right? But they'd love me. They'd love me with the old supermarket. Good morning, sir. What line do I go on for people who have strong valor, sir?
But no, I do agree with you. Like the battle could turn on a dime, and like Mike says here, the more prepared you are, the luckier you get. And it did come. But the thing is, the Union wasn't really prepared.
Here's the thing. They should have been, right? You had all these armies coming. They were preparing for a big fight. They knew where they were coming. Forget Buell and forget Lew Wallace for now.
Yeah.
Look at the corps you do have. Right, McLaren, Hurlbut, obviously Blingy, all of them.
Yeah.
For some inexplicable reason, Grant placed them by how they arrived in Pittsburgh Landing. So you had the two greenest ones up front, and you had your 2 strongest ones in the back, right?
Yeah.
And we're not doing 3 in the front, 1. We're not doing that whole thing right now. But just like, you've got McClure who was battle tested, right? And you've got some of these other guys who are battle tested. Sherman really wasn't, right? And so he's up front, and Prentice is up front, and they're the ones with brand new troops. Many of these guys have never fired a gun in anger before, and they're going to be the first troops to deal with it. That's a mistake on Grant's part. We're not going to bash on Grant today, but he's too good of a general, to make such a basic mistake, because he knew. Well, you think he would know, but he also wrote home to his wife the day before the battle. He didn't expect a battle, so we'll be ready if one comes. So, and they were right at his front door. So, they should have been they should have been better prepared. Although they had 48,000 guys without Buell, without Wallace. So
but they were. If you read Sherman's memoirs, like he's saying, they're not digging in or anything like that because he felt that they had good ground, but they hadn't been told to. But they also didn't want to worry the troops, but the troops are eating like breakfast when Cleburne's first wave of men come upon them. And I mean, there's a guy who's not battle tested, like big battle. Cleburne. This is his first big battle. And I mean, Sherman was in first Bull Run, and he actually had a lot of success there. Grant's had a few battles by this point, but
I will put this over my ear. Fuck it. Everybody's a fucking critic today, so fuck it.
It's not bothering me.
No, that's fine. Like a cigarette. Better?
Hey Leonard. Hey Ryan.
But I do think, though, in all seriousness, though, I think I think that, I'm not sure how it would have been different if they put the more experienced guys up front. But I think look, at the end of the day, it all worked out. But I think it could have been a lot easier. I think they took the full brunt, and I think they took the full brunt, even though the Confederates were kind of, they were disorganized is an understatement, right?
Well, the way that Johnston had them set up in that battle line, that was Beauregard's plan, was how to set them up.
It wasn't everyone's first battle, John. It wasn't everyone's.
Yeah, well,
you had a lot of battles leading up to that.
First big battle, like first huge battle was what?
No, but for those guys, it was really their first real one. I mean, as far as that goes, but still, they were the greenest ones. It was the greenest ones, and and so that's the way it is. So.
Oh, I said Union success. Sorry, Jacob, I didn't mean Union success at Bull Run. I meant Sherman he did okay at Bull Run. The Union, obviously, I know they lost that battle, but Sherman did okay at Bull Run. And then he had the incident with the papers and the crazy talk and all that. But at Shiloh, he does manage to redeem himself because what's this? John says, "Oh, welcome to the shit show that is Shiloh." I'm very ADD today. I apologize.
No, Shiloh's cool, and all these guys at this point had different levels of experience with their battles, but it was just I guess it was kind of more indicative. It did show to Grant that he wasn't expecting a battle that soon, right? Now you got to appreciate a guy like an Everett Peabody who decided to go on his own. Damn Prentice, we're going to go find these guys. A good Boston guy. And anybody who's from Boston knows Everett and Peabody are 2 towns right next to each other. Just a coincidence. His name is Everett Peabody. But he kind of did almost that John Buford role where he kind of had to act as kind of like a speed bump and fell back. What was funny though is you wonder how a Shiloh would have played itself out if it came later on. These guys had experience. I guess it would have been like an Antietam, I suppose. But you see how the Confederate command fell apart and how these guys were all intermingled and no one knew who the hell's reporting to who. Yeah. To the point where Johnson puts it into like 4 like grids.
Yeah. And then he goes riding off to the front and gets himself killed. And then Beauregard is in the back directing the troops and all that. So he doesn't really know how bad it is,
Yeah, Saugus Lynn. Yeah, no kidding. Or I don't know I don't know Tony. I don't remember Everett too much. Everett's no picnic either, by the way. But no, I mean it's funny though. I mean, because you look at some of the guys who were in this. I mean, there's a lot of big names who will play out later on. obviously Sherman is the biggest name, but he was still still new at this too, as far as the whole battle goes.
Yep, and he was just coming off just coming off the whole thing that happened in Kentucky with the, being written about that he was crazy and all that, so he's having to redeem himself. But I mean, like, from Johnston's point of view, though, like, I can't imagine the pressure he was under. And that was a big thing I took away, is like, so he's got shitty, like, newspapers are talking smack about Johnston because of, Henry Donaldson and all that. And then you've got like Henry and Donaldson falling into Union hands. You've got Van Dorn and P. Ridge as well. And Jeff Davis.
Mill Springs, you got all of them.
Yeah, exactly. You've got all of them. So I can't, like, and then they get to Pittsburgh Landing, and Beauregard saying, we don't have the element of surprise anymore. And they haven't, because that was on April 4th that Claiborne's men got spotted by the Union troops, and they had that little bit of a...
Well, they must have seen Claiborne's halo glowing in the light, right? I mean, they must have saw the heavenly angels following him. They must have heard the
Jesus.
harps, I assume they would have. I mean, but it was, what's funny about this though is how, as well as things were going, as bad as things were going in the West for the Confederates, it was going well in the East. It's funny how that dichotomy was, right?
Yeah.
So, February 22nd, George Washington's birthday. He's a president here. I don't know if you've heard of him. Canadians don't really know, but he was a president here one time. I think he was the first. I have to check, double check.
You know who our first prime minister was?
I'm going to guess one of those, the guy from Strange Brew.
Yeah.
The older one, obviously.
Yeah, the older one. Yeah.
Sure.
John A. Macdonald. Don't ask me to name any other prime ministers.
Okay.
I don't know Canadian history.
but February 22nd is when Jefferson Davis officially takes the oath of office in Richmond. Yeah. It's a rainy, shitty day. And you talk about how the tide is going against them, right? And when you look at everything that was going on in the West, and we praise Albert Sidney Johnston a lot, right? We just
you're putting out the bat signal there for.
I know. I'm just saying, but you know what though?
Bat signal.
I think though. I think he was put in a shitty position because he had too much ground to cover and not enough guys, right? Yeah. And most of the action was still Virginia, but he did a pretty good job with it. He did a pretty good job at Shiloh. Now he had his own issues later on that he had, but I think
there wasn't much later after Shiloh.
No, I mean the Battle of Shiloh. I mean.
Oh yeah. No, he definitely did. He definitely did have his issues in that battle for sure.
No, because it started off pretty well. He wanted to, it was funny because you got Beauregard, who's all, he's got a full metal Beauregard in his pants. And he wants to fight immediately.
Oh yeah, and Albert Sidney Johnston is like, I don't want to do this, and then he does like a complete 180 on it. Like he's like, okay, yeah, let's do this, and he's all enthusiastic. And then they get to Pittsburgh Landing, and Beauregard and Bragg are like, nope, this is going to go bad. We shouldn't be doing this. But at that point, like, Johnston is like, how is this going to look on me if I retreat to Corinth? If I go back, that's going to look like a retweet.
Your retweet.
Yeah. Retreat. And that
and old Jefferson Davis is going to, Twitter's going to come after you.
Yeah, he's going to after me. Yeah.
Falling back. Jacob's friend.
Yeah. But Jeff Davis was like, he's there saying, if we don't have Johnston, we don't have anybody. So Johnston is really like, he's bearing the brunt of the, like, what has happened in the West. And I think a lot of it falls too heavily on him. Like, he's got subordinates at Henry and Donaldson who aren't listening to him. Van Dorn's his own problem as well. Actually, Leonard said they had to keep Van Dorn away from the ever popular Lick Creek. That wouldn't have ended well for Van Dorn or the creek.
He'd still be there today. He'd lick him tomorrow and every day after that.
Exactly. He'd set up a bang barn there. That's where undulations.
It'd be a whole thing. It'd be like Vegas now, probably. 50 years later. Imagine that.
Van Dornville.
That whole KISS logo. That
Yeah.
That would be the logo for the whole town. I think.
Actually, it was probably Bang Barnville.
Exactly.
But John says that Grant wrote around muttering not licked yet, which means he knew he was in a bad place. He was surprised. Grant was definitely surprised here.
He knew a battle was coming, but he didn't know when. I mean, he knew. Obviously, he didn't expect the Confederates to march 20 miles. It was supposed to be in one day. It took 3 days, but he didn't expect them to march that quickly.
Yeah.
He thought he was going to be able to set up this. I mean, the thing about it is he had a great position at Pittsburgh Landing to fight. I mean, he had the ridges, he had those ravines. but he pushed him too forward, and you know, and obviously all of it pretty well. But I think with Sidney Johnson though, is he wasn't really ready either though. Like he wanted to fight. You know, you come to the night going into April 6th, April 5th, the night before. And they're all sitting around Beauregard. Of course, Bragg's like, nah, screw this. Let's go back. You know,
well, it's a clusterfuck for them to even get to Pittsburgh Landing because they don't leave till later. And then you've got the rain. And then you've got like Bragg leaves later because of shockingly a miscommunication. And he probably wrote himself and told himself not to leave. That's probably what he did.
Yeah.
He probably wrote himself and said, can I leave now? And he wrote himself back, no, you can't leave yet.
Yeah, I mean, but the day of the battle, and then Sidney Johnson is just you know, he's hell bent for leather at this point. He wants to fight. He's ready to go. So that's gonna happen the next day, and they have a pretty good battle plan overall, right? They want to go around the Union left flank and separate them from the Tennessee River, drive them back to that marshy area where Lew Wallace will eventually come. But that would have been a good strategy for them. But the problem is the battle went on. They got away from it. They got stuck at that hornet's nest for hours on that central area, that left central, and they kept pounding away at that for the whole day, and it got away from their game plan. That's what got them, you know.
Yeah, they did. Ryan says, I feel like I'm being invited to say Rebs have appalling staff work. They do.
Oh, they do. I mean,
he's right about that. And John P said once the Rebs moved away from the river, they lost the initiative and got sucked into the center, right where the strong resistance was. And Andrew brings up the point. Grant is sitting at Cherry Mansion in Savannah eating breakfast. Just reading the comments here. I'm so ADD today. I apologize.
Yeah, well, you just read your comments.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but I think it was so early in the war for this. It just I don't think even the obviously the Grants, the Albert Sidney Johnsons, they hadn't got their bearings yet with what was going on with this. I mean, Grant, a lot of these guys. I mean, Grant's quotes. I mean, he thought this war was he wanted to spike the ball. One more big battle will be done. I don't think he realized it. The Rebs were, you know, they were beaten up in the West, but they felt confident because all these guys. I mean, granted, you've got these armies from all over the place coming, all converging, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's like that scene in Anchorman where they blow the horn, they all come running.
I've never seen Anchorman before.
Oh my God, what the hell! But I think but they felt confident though. But they had the shitty weapons. You had the squirrel guns. You probably had who the hell knows you friggin' had. But they had a lot of people there, and and they seem to be. But the thing that what screws up, and this is where you want to. Here's one for you, Ryan. You can blame Johnson on this one. Why he didn't put more troops on that rebel right flank where they were going to attack, and why he spread them out evenly is a huge mistake. Because if
3 in the front, 1 in the rear.
3 in the front, 1 in the rear, right?
I will always remember the Confederate order of battle.
But if you put heavy on the right, on the Confederate right, and you really push them, you would have driven them right back at that point.
Exactly.
There's no question they would have. By the way, the whole battle worked itself out. Now, Stephen Hurlbut did a pretty good job holding them off in that peach orchard.
Yep.
And that was because, you know, that's what guys like W.H.L. Wallace, and McClernand and those guys would hold them down in that hornet's nest. But then again, even Bragg screws that one up. Okay? Because Bragg, instead of hitting with everything, is going to hit him piecemeal. So you look at this in hindsight, and again, hindsight always your benefactor.
Yeah.
You look back at the hindsight and you see the mistakes that they make, but it's tough to say in real time. You know, you see we'll never know. I mean, they couldn't see shit. That hornet's nest.
No.
You know, they couldn't even see what they were shooting at. I mean, some guys called it a sunken road. It wasn't even sunken. That's how much you couldn't even see.
Well, maybe it was a little bit sunken down because it got so wet from all the rain.
That's probably, you know. Yeah, I can't believe I haven't seen Anchorman. How the hell is that even? How is that even possible? Who are you? I don't know who you are anymore.
Guess I'll have to watch it.
That's like a classic. Have you seen them? Have you seen like Animal House? You know what? You haven't even seen The Office, have you?
No, I haven't.
The TV show.
No, I haven't. I haven't. I need to. I don't know.
There's my Robert E. Lee glare right now. Now, that's a surprise.
That's usually me with you on a Tuesday night before we record.
Or Saturday morning, you know. Okay, well, I'm saying, you know. but you know, I think you got a lot of like, it's almost like you got a really good football team, but all the players are rookies and young, and they didn't have the experience yet. I think the experience would have been huge with this. That's why some people think, Mary, that Albert Sidney Johnston was never going to get better. That everybody else was going to get better except him. Right? Yeah, he would have got better too, just like Grant got better, Sherman got better. Yeah. That's why the loss is huge for the Confederates.
Yeah, a lot of it is his loss, especially.
And considering that what they had left over in the West after that. I mean, you had Hardy was pretty good, Beauregard was pretty good, but Hood was a
mess. But the thing is I think that when you look at the politics that are happening behind this, Johnston seemed to have better control over keeping the drama down. Andrew. Probably.
Little Brexy.
I was just thinking that.
I spent a lot of time thinking about that, but okay.
And Snyder said, what if Kump had reported to the enemy movement to Grant rather than bashing Ohio?
Well, there's that too, right?
Yeah, like
now, look, nobody loves bashing Ohio more than me, Mary. Don't get me wrong, right? That's true. But I think, he that was one where Sherman got caught. It wasn't Sherman's great. I mean, it wasn't his best moment. It wasn't.
It wasn't. And I think he realized that afterwards. But the way he writes about it in his memoirs, it's like, okay, Sherman, did you know about it or didn't you? Because it's coming across like you were maybe caught off guard, but you don't want to say that. You know, but I can't imagine being Appler going to him and being like, dude, like they're fucking right. They're there. Like they're there.
Well, I imagine like Sherman and Appler are sitting there, right? They're standing there and Sherman's looking at the left and he sees at the skirmish line, right? He's just staring. And then also Appler kind of, I know this didn't happen, but just in my mind, he like grabs Sherman's chin and turns to the right and goes, dude, look there. And they're all there. He's like, fuck.
Yeah, he's just like.
And then when he face palms, he gets shot in the hand.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Appler does the whole, I was right.
He probably did.
But he can't but the thing is like he tells Appler the night before, he's like, take your damned regiment back to Ohio. There's no rebs like nearer than Corinth. He thinks they're still back at Corinth at that point, and who knows what he's going on with that. But I mean, if you get that do you maybe not want to be like, okay, what are you basing this on? And then poor Appler though, he apparently when he got, so it was actually a messenger that went to Sherman, tells Sherman tells him, take your damn regiment back to Ohio. The messenger's got to go back and tell Appler this in front of his men, and his men laughed at him. Like he was laughed at for it, but I mean, presumably his men saw them there too. Right. But that's definitely not his finest moment. And of course he doesn't go to Grant, well, there's this report, I don't think there's anybody there, but maybe you might want to get down here. And then Grant's eating breakfast the next morning and he's all like, oh, the ball's in motion, apparently we're having a battle. He's very similar to where Rosecrans was at Chickamauga. I think Rosecrans was eating breakfast when the Battle of Chickamauga started and he heard the guns.
Most important meal of the day, Mary.
Oh, I know.
Good breakfast. I didn't have breakfast today.
Neither did I, actually.
I could be attacked at any moment. Those poor Texans at first Texas and Antietam. They were eating breakfast and the attack came. They had to stop eating. It looked freaking worse right there. But yeah, the 53rd Ohio was a tough spot, and sure. But again, that's they fall back. You got Hildenbrandt's guns are going to kind of hold that line. But he does. Sherman does come back. He has that counterattack later, so he does kind of redeem himself a little bit. Yeah. And by no means was Sherman somebody who fucked anything up with this, but I think he wasn't prepared. Maybe he was personally, but his troops were still young. I mean, you got McDowell, Stewart, Hildebrand, and Bucklander is his brigade guys. He doesn't exactly have the dream team there for the most part. Yeah. Although Stewart does a good job though. You got to give David Stewart, not Jeb Stewart, not George Willard, not George Maryland Stewart, David Stewart. A lot of Stewarts in this war. thought about that?
Yeah, there are. And they all spell their names differently too.
They do. But
I
David
remember
Stewart,
when I took shit over how I was spelling Jeb's name on Twitter last year.
Jeb Stuart's my favorite Confederate cavalry general who fought in the Virginia campaign, as opposed to Joseph Wheeler, who's my favorite Confederate Western. But David Stewart, the thing about him though is he's somebody who should be studied a lot more by people who study this stuff, because he did a good job, because he really helped keep the Rebs from getting around that Confederate, that Union left flank, right? Pretty much his brigade almost by himself. Yeah, I know he had Hildebrand's guns with him, but Stewart did a good job with that.
Oh, he did.
And people don't really study that.
Yeah, no, they don't. And there's a lot, like I was listening to one it's either an audiobook or a podcast, I can't remember what, but they were saying how like, it was a talk about Shiloh I found on YouTube, and the guy was talking about how like Hornet's Nest is all that ever gets talked about with this battle, and it gets almost too much focus on it. Yet I think it's basically what allowed Grant to get all his troops into that line.
Yeah. Every one of these battles, I mean, whether it's a Round Top or it's Spotsylvania with the mule shoe, I mean, there's always that one, right? And Hornets, that's a pretty cool name, admittedly. But you know what, though? It is important, though. It is, because it's the part of this battle that does holds off, that takes all that time away, right? So, you've got all those guns lined up, right? And it's gonna take that into 62 guns, but the sign says 53 at the battlefield, so no one knows. But kind
of like how many people were at Bragg's Council of War at Chickamauga.
Those, God, they were all there.
But times.
But Ruggles, and he kind of YOLO'd that too, because Bragg was like, keeps sending him in the meat grinder. He's like, fuck this, let's get some guns. And so he rallies all his guns together. Yeah. And he finally pushes them off, gets, you got your Prentice is going to get caught, Wallace is going to get killed, and but they finally get through it. But it's kind of like a Pyrrhic victory in a way, because they spent all that time getting through the Hornets' Nest when they got away from that primary objective, which was going around the Union.
Yeah, they did. They did for sure. Yeah. Jim makes a good point. From Ruggles' battery, the ground ever so slightly dips, and the road is barely visible from Ruggles' position. But the road isn't sunken; it's rather slightly hidden by the change in elevation. Do you mean a rolling hill?
He said undulation.
Change in elevation.
I heard undulations. All matters. Len will back me on this one. Len is the only one who gets it. The only one. Rolling hills. What is this?
Rolling hills.
But
rolling undulations. How's that?
Rolling. I'll go with that. Oh, hey, Joe.
Travis says, feels like this early war version of the Battle of the Wilderness. Union troops get surprised in woods and whacked for being unprepared. Both battles were a mess, and nasty soldiers fight in the end. No command and control, really, and just tiny battles going on everywhere. I did think that when we were, when I was doing the research for this, that this is, a little bit like the Wilderness, and just the chaos and all that, and the Union getting caught off guard and all that. What do you?
Just the usual stuff, but it is funny though. We jump ahead of the end of that first day, and we kind of go all over this place. But how cocky the Rebs were, right?
Yeah.
Where they had their 28-3 moment at the end of that first day, and Forrest is seeing Buell's guys coming in. He's seeing Wallace's guys coming in. He's like, we're gonna get friggin' astroglided tomorrow. I don't even know it yet, right?
Forrest is usually the one to do something like that too. He's usually the one to see. He saw what they were doing at Chickamauga the next day, like after the Union had lost, and he saw them doing stuff. And he told Bragg, dude, now's your chance to attack. And Bragg's like, fuck off. He doesn't attack.
Yeah. Why is everybody talking about me? Yeah, good point. She should be Jen Undulations, by the way. Officially, right? It's a Jen Rolling.
Jen Undulations? No, Jen Rolling. Rolling Hills. I get it.
The train moves, not the station, right? Just seeing if you're still with us here.
Sorry, I'm a little bit tired.
You've got the rattling inside your head.
I do.
Yeah.
Hanging out with you too long, probably. Good morning, Elsie. Joe Hey Joe, he says, "Hey guys, great convo on Shiloh yesterday." Yeah, if anybody anybody on Twitter, Joe tagged us in a post where he had some books posted that are about Shiloh, and one of them was one of the ones that I actually used for this episode, which is Shiloh and the Western Campaign of 1862 by Edward Cunningham. It's actually a really, really good book.
Well, that was that good conversation that we have. You're just alluding to it, Joe. Yeah. Those good books, and in the one book I mentioned on the Twitter machine yesterday that I don't like, because I don't like the Shelby Foote Shiloh book. Don't like.
No,
I think it sucks, and I think like I said before, it's kind of like the band who has to put out the greatest hits album. They go, we have to do this, fine, we'll just release it.
Yeah,
that book was so lazily written and it was so shoddy. And I read that. I mean, I liked I like the trilogy. I like the Stars in Their Courses book, and I read that and I'm like, this sucks. It was just so, compared to the other stuff. Gru's book is really good in Shiloh. That's a good one.
Yep, I listened to the audiobook of that a couple weeks ago. It was really good. The other one that I'm actually listening to right now, I'm about halfway through, is one from the Emerging Civil War series, and I think it's by Mertz. It's really good, and it's also got like a tour in it that you can take as well. Like it actually will explain how the battle's going and say, if you look over this way, if you look over that way. So it's a little bit, the audiobook doesn't translate as well. It doesn't translate as well into audiobook format, but I want to get like a hard copy of it for when I do go visit Shiloh. But yeah, it was a good one too. Like it's a great one too. And yeah, anybody on Twitter, we retweeted what Joseph had tagged us in. So the books are all there. And like,
yeah, it's some serious enabling right there. That's like a $200 Amazon.
I know. I was like,
right there, Joe. So although I have most of the books though, so I'm covered. I got a couple that I have, but
there's some that I don't have. Joseph also said a couple comments here. He said he can't stick around long, but he just wants to say how good this week was. Plus, Twitter book discussion was great. Well, thank you very much, Jim.
Have you read the Foote book on Shiloh?
Nope.
Picture?
No, I haven't.
I mean, you should read it just for the sake of reading it, but you'll see, and it's like it's very disappointing. It just was.
Yeah, like I have his trilogy on the Civil War just because I'm like, okay, well, but I've never I've flipped through it, but I haven't read it in its entirety yet. I would like to sometime, because I think it was Joseph on Twitter who said that like the narrative is really it's interesting just to read, but you got to remember who Shelby Foote is, and
Stars in Their Courses, the Gettysburg one was very, very good.
Yeah,
that one I did like. And he's got he's got a very Southern slant, needless to say. He loves Nathan Bedford Forrest. He loves himself some NBF,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was just it was kind of like when you have to write a college paper and it's the night before and you're like, fuck it, I forgot about this. You whip something out and said that that's what it was. So it just, whatever.
Yeah, I like it because I've never read it and I probably won't just because of everybody seems to talk smack about it. But I think Andrea mentioned that was why she went to Shiloh, was after reading that book. So it's inspiring people to go there. And there's been a few people talk, like Jim said he's going there in a couple of weeks, which is awesome. It's definitely.
I've never been to Shiloh. I've been to Tennessee a handful of times. I broke down in Tennessee one time with my friend Chris. We were driving to Texas one time and we broke down outside of Goodlettsville, Tennessee. Now, Goodlettsville, Tennessee is bad enough, but outside of Goodlettsville, Tennessee is a whole different situation.
Oh, so I've been in the backwoods of Tennessee before.
And I was probably 18. Well, I'm sure you have, but I was like 18 years old, and we had to go into this hotel, and I remember it had no windows, but it had painted windows, like it had like undulations out the window, but it was just fake. And it was one of those sketchy places with the bed that put quarters in if you're into that type of thing.
Oh my god!
And, but it was just me and a buddy of mine going down. We actually moving down to Dallas, and we broke down. That sucked. We were walking down the highway in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, and the car gets towed away. And of course, it was funny. We, end up drinking beer and watching cartoons the next morning for a couple hours, and with $200 in our pocket, I don't know how the hell we're gonna get the car fixed and get to Texas. But we made it. We survived. So
wow,
one of those stories. Another stupid Darren story.
Whatever. Bob said my great grandfather was a surgeon at Shiloh, 8th Illinois Infantry. And then Snyder says Victors in Blue gives a nice insight into the Union politics behind Shiloh. Andrew said that she was watching Jake Wynn on the History Channel last night, and he was talking about the bioluminescence on the wounded soldiers on the battlefield that night. I think we are going to talk about that in our second episode.
No, we were planning on talking about that for the second half.
Yeah,
and that was the phosphorus and all the stuff that was going on. But that must have been a weird sight because these are very, very religious people back then. We talked about Antietam seeing the Northern Lights, and they thought that the souls were going up to heaven. Oh, maybe they were.
Yeah.
But that must have been something to see. I mean, what the people saw, the soldiers saw at Shiloh was one that they'd never seen before. Any of these guys.
Yeah.
And so it was a whole different thing. We talked about the David Stanley there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Who got shot in the belt buckle, which sucks.
That would suck.
Talk about ruining your weekend, Mary. He gets hit in the belt buckle, and he ends up getting knocked down, gets caught, decides to flip teams, goes from the Confederates. I think it was a 6 Arkansas.
Yeah.
6 Arkansas to the Union, and then he ends up in the Navy, and he's probably the only guy to do Army, Navy, Union,
both sides.
Confederate. And then he ends up being the guy who finds David Livingstone on the Nile.
That's crazy.
Dr.
Livingstone.
I presume. That was his line. It's just fucked up. It's just one of those. It's such a cool freaking stupid thing.
No, it is. No, it was good. I thought it was awesome that you started the episode off with that story.
I mean, there's so many good. We're going to do a lot more of the soldier stories in the second episode. We did a lot of the battle in the first one. We did a lot of X's and O's in this one. But we'll talk more about the soldier stories in the second. But I just love that story.
No, that's a good story.
Why? Because it's so stupid. That's what's great about it. It's just. What are they? There's so many. It's just one of those things, It's just hilarious in so many ways.
It's good to start off the episode that way because that's what we're about with this podcast is telling kind of the human aspect of it, and that's kind of why that's why I talked about the politics, to always think of what's going on in Albert Sidney Johnston's head as he's headed towards Pittsburgh Landing, like all the politics that are playing into the decisions he's having to make. And
there's one thing I know for sure is that Stanley was happy he had that belt buckle. That I'll tell you. That I guarantee you. Tell me about it. That's talk about a tough day for mother right there. But that's a good story though. But there's a lot of stories like that though with these things.
Oh yeah, there definitely are, and there's I tried to look at quite a few different sources for it, just because it's such a hard battle to wrap your mind around. But once I remember doing research about it a few years ago for Rail Splitter for an episode we did about it, and just it finally clicked with me.
Think about this, we research these, okay? We usually look at a bunch of different sources for each episode. We do, and so it kind of goes from different perspectives. Southern Union. If there's a lecture, we try to watch a lecture. If otherwise, we do fall back on previous knowledge and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But then try to fill in the gaps with some of this stuff. Like we talk a lot about Albert Sidney Johnston's death, right?
Yeah.
How would the North have been better if W.H.L. Wallace had survived?
Yeah.
Right. He's another big loss. And I guarantee no one outside of probably this group knows who the hell he is. Right.
Yeah.
Just like nobody knows who Sterling A.M. Wood is.
Everybody will know who Sterling A.M. Wood is.
You want to talk about the greatest name of all time. Sterling A.M. Wood. Everybody knows that.
I will forever remember who he was and where he which battle he fought at. Sterling.
The best part about it was that Peabody saw him first thing in the morning. So life imitates art. But that's
nothing will ever beat those States Rats.
I'll take A.M. Wood over States Rights. That's all freaking deal. That, you know what? I may get A.M. Wood tattooed on my arm.
You should. There you go. There's a signature for you.
Good luck with that one.
Sterling.
Jesus God.
Sterling.
And you know what? Good for him for going with that name too. Because that's the name I would use. I would just go for Sam. What do they call
that? Went for Sam.
Stupid thing, Sam.
Lori said she LOL'd when you mentioned that in the podcast, and I was running.
It was so goddamn funny.
I know that was a good one. That and I will always remember the Confederate battle line. Mm-hmm. Three in the front and one in the rear.
Yeah. And you wind up throwing these stupid things, but that's a big loss, though. I mean, on all seriousness, we're talking about going back to Wallace. I mean, and he gets shot in the head. He's left for dead. He lingers there for a while.
He does, yeah. His wife is actually there looking for him, and she's helping, nurse the soldiers and stuff like that. But she's there with him when he dies a few days later. Mm-hmm. He's not really conscious at all, but apparently, he could tell that she was there, and she somehow knew that. But then he he woke up at one point just before he died and said, like, I'll see you in heaven, and then he passes away. The one person we didn't mention in this battle is C.F. Smith. This is where he's dying because he scraped his leg and got really fucked up from that. And they had no idea what was wrong with him.
No, but Tony, seriously, Sterling Aimwood's a real guy. Okay. Yeah. And to make it even better, he's in Hardy's division. So it's Prince, now it's perfect, right? Just saying. I mean, you can't make this shit up. But but the CS, that's a sad story. But you know what though? This is a time in the 19th century where death was a big deal, and it just what a complete disaster these things must have been. How they must have dealt with this. Yeah, because it was so hard to deal with these things, and people dying, you don't even know about it, and it's all. I mean, any death is sad, but especially these ones, especially unnecessary ones that came later on. Right? Yeah,
like at Franklin. Anything after Atlanta, as you've said, is unnecessary death on both sides.
Paul, I've thought about using AM Wood in Starbucks, but I don't think they would take me seriously.
You should.
Coffee for AM Wood. Can you imagine me yelling that out?
That would be worth it.
Well, half the guys would raise their hand. I wouldn't get my latte. Somebody would take it on me, But it's but it's true. That's true though. When these guys dying like that, and the Wallace story is a tough one. That's a bad one. Even the Johnson story is a tough one because there's all kinds of urban legends about Albert Sidney Johnson. Like, he gave away his handkerchief, his tourniquet. And he could have saved his life. And I think at that point, though, it wasn't going to save him. He lost so much blood at that point because
he couldn't feel it, right? Like when the bullet went in behind his knee, it severed this one artery. But because he'd been in that duel years before and been injured, it caused nerve damage, so he couldn't feel it. So he'd lost too much blood by the time he fell off his horse. Like he didn't fall off his horse, but he started to kind of sway, and the guys caught him.
He was unconscious, right? He was kind of wobbly, and he had those big, tall leather boots on, like the ones that Frail wears for the nightclubs in Providence. But so they couldn't tell the blood; it was filling up with blood. And by then, when you go unconscious, you've lost so much blood at that point.
Yeah, like he was done, and then Beauregard finds out and says, "Don't tell anybody about this because it's going to break morale." So they don't find out till that night. Now, who knows?
The good news is the communication was so screwed up; they probably still don't know he died to this day.
They're probably like, "Wait, he's dead."
Well, that they got so so intertwined on that day of that first battle on the 6th that they were all over the place, and it just. You know who to report to, and then you like the movie Gettysburg. They play the battle, chord, the sound. They all the bugle corps. They all run for death. That's how that was, right? Mm-hmm. And the sad part is if they'd have handled that battle a little better, they should have rolled right through Grant. They should have, but they got. I mean, even with the fact they got screwed by the weather, right? Mm-hmm. Like we said before. I'll always wonder, right? I don't always wonder, but I wonder, like, what would have happened if Johnston had begun the battle on the 4th like he wanted to? He would have been 3 full days ahead of Buell and Wallace, but especially Buell, the Army of the Ohio. From the time Buell gets there, at that point, Grant, they've been rounded up probably. It could have been a reverse of Donaldson.
It could, right? It would have been. You think about where they are at that point and what they're trying to do, it would have been disastrous. And I know there's somebody who was saying like the Shiloh was a draw. It wasn't actually a Union victory.
Oh, I mean, but
it was a victory.
It was probably like a hockey shootout victory.
Yeah,
Antietam was kind of same deal. Well, Professor Sammy is on. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa. Yeah, she said, read about the death of Union General William Wallace. So sad, died at Cherry Mansion on April 10th with his wife by his side. Yeah, we were just mentioning that. We'll definitely talk about that in the next episode too. But yeah, his story that is a really sad one. Jim said, one of my favorite rumors in the post-battle newspaper reports was that Beauregard had both of his arms blown off.
I don't know. Yeah, John's good point. Would Grant have surrendered? I mean, that'd be a tough one in the unconditional surrender. Then he surrenders like a week later, or a month later, right? Can you imagine?
That would, yeah, no.
Yeah, that'd be. I don't know if he would. I don't know, a tough one right there. But that's but this is like we said. But this is where you get lucky. People don't. I mean, that 2-day reign. I mean, it's amazing how whatever you want to call it. God's will, or the hell you want to call it. The fact that they were delayed those 2 days to get there is such a big deal in this battle.
It is, yeah,
because they weren't used to marching. These were green troops on there, and Bragg called this a mob. He didn't call it an army, because you had guys from all over. Some guys had Confederate uniforms, some had no uniforms.
Yeah,
some guys were probably Porky Pig in it. Some guys had no shoes, right?
Yep.
And so, but they had to march in the mud for 2 days, and then they had to delay the battle back-to-back days, and then it finally starts on the 6th. If they'd have started that on the 4th, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But that's where you get lucky, though. I mean, it's
exactly like the rain plays a role, right, in this, and then it rains the night of after the first day. It's raining that night, and Grant's unable to sleep. He would, where his headquarters was. He had to leave because it was being used by the surgeons, and he couldn't stand the sounds of the men in there, like the wounded and all that. So he goes up to that tree, and that's where like Sherman finds him. And Sherman's actually going to tell him, I think we need to surrender. I think we need to cut our losses and leave. And Sherman has a moment where it's probably rare he had a moment like this, where he thinks, I should just shut the fuck up and not say anything. And all he says is that famous line.
Sherman wasn't Sherman at that point, though.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't. And I mean, he would grow into Uncle Blingy, but he was still merely William Tecumseh Sherman at that point. He was still a little Cump at that point. He wasn't Blingy yet.
Yeah.
But they all developed. And that's why I say Johnson.
This battle.
That's why I say Albert Johnson would have got better, because they all did. They all did, except Hood, because he sucks. But the rest of them did. I'm sorry. He just
He's putting out the Joe Reese bat signal there with that one.
Well, I mean, he was. I mean, God, nobody goes 5 wides up by 20 in the fourth quarter, but you just run the ball on it. He did Atlanta. He did. Franklin's a disaster.
Oh yeah, but you got to wonder though, had Johnston lived, like how would command have gone in the Confederate Army in the West after that? Like his death is a complete game changer. We see what happens after that. Like Johnston was, I think he kind of held things together a little bit more than what the commanders that came after him did, but he's also dealing with like such a shit show with people too, like especially Van Dorn,
people talk about Halleck. Halleck was claiming victory. Like we said before, that meme, the guy behind the tree.
Yep. That's Halleck.
That's Halleck, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to consolidate the whole army of the West, which he got on March 11th of 1862. They gave it to him. And everything was going good. He's like, this is my chance to be the man, right? And he wanted to get rid of Grant after Fort Henry, Mary, right?
Yeah.
So you think about what would have happened when you go back to Donelson, go back in our way back machine a few weeks ago. If the Confederates had escaped from Donelson, well, Grant was still in the boat with Andrew Foote on his boat with Jay-Z and the rest of them on the river over there. If they'd have got out, they would have fired Grant right then. There's no question, right? But Halleck had eyes on the prize with this. He hated Grant because he wanted to be Grant.
Yep, he did.
There's no doubt he did.
He was so like he played the personal game. Like we talked a lot about the personal game last week in our episode about Five Forks. About with Sheridan, Grant, and Warren, and that whole fucking Mean Girls disaster that happened to Warren. Like this is Halleck is very much, making things personal at this point, just because he's got it in for Grant for whatever reason.
They all did. They all did to a certain level, did things personal.
Yeah.
But Halleck, I mean, this fucking guy, right? And Stanton for that matter too, but something about Halleck. Maybe it's the picture.
Yep.
The whole.
Yeah.
You should have his finger like that.
Yeah.
That's how you should do it. But the whole thing with Halleck though was he was one of that old phrase, you're born on third base and hit a triple, right? Yeah. That phrase. He wanted so much to be the guy he wanted so much credit in that West. And Grant's the one who he had to go to Halleck to get the Donelson campaign going.
Yep.
They said, let's go down the river and take Henry. Okay. And then what happens? They take it, and he's taking full credit. Not only Mr. Lincoln did my soldiers take care of this. I think that I can be best suited by consolidating the armies of the West and taking over the whole thing. Don't you think? Old Abe, and of course Lincoln. We're whalers, Henry. We're whalers, and he gives it to him.
Yeah.
And so now Halleck's in charge, but he sees Grant getting these wins after wins, and now here comes Sherman. So he's like, eventually Halleck goes back to DC and gets put in the friggin' dunce room, and that's the end of him. But again,
he gets told to go sit in the corner.
Go sit in the corner, and the horse you rode in on.
Could you not?
But that's how it was though. I mean, someone like a Halleck, maybe we unfairly give Grant a hard time for that too, on like the Rosecrans and the Hooker thing, about taking credit after battles, because he cannot hold a candle to Halleck with that. Not even close. No. Right?
No, he can't. Like I don't know. And Halleck just, I don't know. Halleck is Halleck, right? He's headed in for Grant since, what was it, California or whatever. And he started the rumors that Grant was drinking again. He even wrote to McClellan before the Battle of Shiloh saying, like, I think Grant's up to his old tricks again. And McClellan's basically like, well, you better boot him out of there then, And then so he pseudo fires Grant, and then he writes him and says, don't worry, you're still in charge. I have no reason to fire you, kind of thing. Like,
I said the whole up to our old tricks again when I had to post that meme last night at 9:00 when it wasn't posted yet. I assumed the same thing. So I know the feeling, Oh shit, was that out loud? Anyways.
Could you not?
Oh, the places you'll go. But I think Halleck was such a huge ego in the West. Now they all had egos, but when we talk about Grant with this, right? Mm-hmm. You have to take a step back and realize that he ultimately he was a guy who ultimately was the one at the end of the musical chairs.
Yep. Don't. Fuck.
But seriously though, Halleck was a you want to talk about a capital O opportunist, was Henry Halleck.
Oh yeah,
throughout this whole thing.
Oh, he was completely. He totally was. And then Lincoln says of him, like, he's nothing more than an administrator. Like, Lincoln is so done with him by the end of the war too. Like, he's realizing, like, Jesus, this guy really is not that great. Like, he's just a glorified administrator basically, because Lincoln would tell him to do something and he would not do it.
Well, he had a great job. I mean, think about it. He sat in Cairo, right? Yep. And I think it was Cairo. I'm pretty sure it was Cairo. But he's sitting up in Cairo at the time, watching Grant fight, and he's taking credit for all his victories. Meanwhile, he just has his finger on the button ready to get rid of him. Because he's like, shit, you know what? It's like you're a manager, right?
Yeah.
And you have an employee who's really good, who's going to take your job. And you go, fuck, I got to find a way to get rid of this guy. He's going to take my job. And my future job, more important. But Lincoln saw it eventually. I mean, Grant and Abe are boys by the end.
Oh, they were. They definitely were.
But Halleck, that's what Halleck wanted. I mean, he wanted to be in the steam room over there with Abraham at the at the White House. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be that confidant guy that Grant became, because he obviously had political ambitions afterwards. There's no question.
Exactly. Oh, he definitely did. He definitely had political ambitions. And Snyder says that Halleck was responsible for Sherman's promotion and praised to try and manipulate the generalship. Travis says the reality TV shows you could have with Civil War generals would be top notch.
Oh, can you imagine that?
Oh my God. Could you imagine a reality show?
You could have
post Chickamauga reality show.
What was that show about the island? Oh, Survivor, right?
Yeah.
You could have Survivor.
Oh,
you could put them all on the island. You'd have Bragg with his big Ernie brow.
That would, and they would have to vote each other off and work together.
You could have Hurlburt just so Bragg can go, hey, Hurlburt. I could do it. I could write that show.
Survivor Civil War style. Who would be left at the end?
Well, they kind of really had it. If you think about it, they kind of did. I mean, Albert St. Johnson got voted off on the first show.
He did.
The first one to go.
Yeah.
But W.H. Wallace was right there with him. Yeah. But unfortunately, but that's how the whole thing goes, though. But what was interesting though about the Shiloh battle is and we'll talk about this at the podcast next time, is finishing it up and then the ramifications that came out of that, right?
Yeah.
Because it affects all of them. Obviously, Beauregard was in a tough spot because he's doing his Deion Sanders end zone dance, right? Meanwhile, you got Forrest telling him, dude, not so fast, my friend. He sends a letter off to Jeff Davis saying we got this glorious victory. And he probably, I bet you he knew that they were in for it the next day.
Yeah.
I bet you he's like, whistling by the graveyard, and he probably knew they were screwed, kind of like in Jurassic Park when,
Love that movie.
with was it Samuel Jackson there,
Yeah.
Hold on to your butts. That's what I picture Beauregard that night.
I just picture that. Hold on to your butts. Except he's saying it with his Creole accent.
Oh, definitely. And of course, his bronchitis probably took him half an hour to say it. But he. How many troops they have? About 1 million. but he'd already sent the message to Beauregard. I mean, to Jefferson Davis. So
I can't get that image out of my head.
Oh, there's your visual letter meme right there.
I can't.
But they had to have already sent that information. So now he's like, shit. He's like, I already said we won. Now we're gonna get pass, punt, and kick competition tomorrow, and now I've got to sit there and then he falls back to Corinth. He has to retreat from Corinth, and he never recovers from it.
Never not going to imagine.
All I could picture is someone like Breckenridge with the Jello. See like Chris Sherman come down there.
You'd be like. I do that every time. My mom makes Jello all the time, like at holidays, and I do that every single time. And it pisses me.
No, but you had Raptors. That'd be a fun battle to watch.
Oh, could you imagine if you threw Raptors into this?
No, see how your old Patrick Claiborne would do with that one.
Ooh. Actually, funny. Jen Rowling has a really cool Instagram account called Billy and Clyde, and Clyde is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I think he's a T-Rex. And she's got this Sherman like doll thing, and they go on adventures together. It's so funny. It's so cool. But she called him Clyde because of McPherson, because he's from Clyde, Ohio. So that's what she decided to call the dinosaur. But it's really, really cool.
Cool.
And then Ben sent us that picture one day of Sherman riding the Raptor, the Lego.
Yeah.
The Lego Raptor.
Ben's got problems.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. The union cuts off the electricity. Fuck. You picture like you picture Forrest is riding on the horse, kind of like that, like Newman and that from Seinfeld. He's like, he sees like the Confederate Union guy. He's like, that's nice.
Yeah.
He's driving.
Shiloh Jurassic Park style.
So you think about it, basically Shiloh is Jurassic Park.
I was just thinking that.
It kind of is.
So then General Grant is obviously Grant.
See, it all makes sense.
And then Ellie is Sherman.
Yeah.
Oh, who's Malcolm?
Oh, Malcolm. That's a good one.
That's Lou Wallace.
No, because he wasn't there at the time.
That's right.
You gotta. That's a good one.
Malcolm.
Maybe like Prentice, because he was at the beginning.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it was Prentice. You know why? Because he's the one who told Peabody you shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. He's like, this is what happens when you play God.
Yeah, exactly. See what happens? This is what happens when you go against. So you take those three companies. This is what happens.
This is what happens when you take charge.
This is what happens when you get a little chaos theory built in here.
Albert Sidney Johnson, clever girl.
Rebs find a way.
Oh, Jen just said that she's like, Mayor, name the dino. I was giving her suggestions and she went with I'm like, Clyde.
You named them? Of course you did. You have your stuffed animals, you have names, for God's sakes. There's a Lickbo, by the way.
Oh, Lickbo?
Yeah, there's
our mascot, Lickbo.
Yeah.
Elsie Grant finds a way.
Yeah,
In a
definitely.
Malcolm voice.
It is pretty funny though. About $1 million.
Hey Ryan, anyone suggest Richard Attenborough as Halleck is in for trouble? Yeah, who's Hammond? Hammond's the one that fucks all this up. I guess he would be Halleck. He's
Hammond, yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably Beauregard, right? Because he's the
Beauregard.
all is well guy. He's like, everything's good, everything's fine.
But I like Beauregard as Samuel L. Jackson. Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, it's hold on to your butts.
About $1 million.
Never seen that movie the same way again. No.
Neither will I. I'm gonna lose my shit when he's hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts.
I just want someone to say it in a Creole accent, like because apparently Beauregard had that accent. And
yeah, of course he did.
I think English was not his first language. French was.
Pierre Gustave Dutton Beauregard.
Beauregard.
The second greatest name in Civil War history, after, of course, Sterling Amwood. But
the Jurassic Park thing is up there with the Legos.
Oh, it is pretty funny. It is pretty funny.
About $1 million.
But it is. But there's so many things about Shiloh though, where it is kind of like questionable. I mean, Grant's like we said before, Grant's troops placement is the thing that's kind of tough to get your hands around with this because it clearly shows they weren't ready for a battle yet, but they should have been. Yeah. But he had to have known they were 3 days to 4 days at most away from a battle. He had to have known. Yeah, they knew they were all in Corinth, right? Oh,
yeah,
and Henry Harrison to sneak up there and tell you, all 7 corps will put on a map for you, right?
We throw Harrison into Jurassic Park. Who's he?
Oh, geez, I don't know who Harrison would be. Harrison would probably be one of those lawyers who comes in and says, liability.
The lawyer. Who's the hunter? Who's Muldoon?
Oh, he's got to be some badass. I would say he's probably someone like.
Well, he gets killed. Is he Albert Sidney Johnston?
No, he's not that big.
No,
maybe.
He's W.H.L. Wallace.
Okay, whatever you want. So like Burger King, have it your way. Never fine. Penny means nothing anyway, so whatever. W.L. That's a good one. But
Elsie got a meme boat Beauregard as Samuel L. Jackson. Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. Yeah, that'll be the meme for next week's episode. I'll definitely do that.
About $1 million.
How many troops does Buell have? About $1 million. Hold on to your butts.
Who's Claiborne?
I don't know. I mean, Claiborne. No, he would be. He might be Malcolm maybe because he was the guy who was very preppy. He fell off his horse, got in the mud, got all pissed because he had mud in his clothes the whole freaking day.
And he's telling
his shillelagh, he hurt himself.
His horse threw him. His horse threw him as they were going through the mud. Tony said, "Where's Lew Wallace?"
Where's Lew Wallace? Lew Wallace he got stuck chasing cavalry before the battle, and he's ended up northwest of Shiloh. He ended up coming over. I think there's a bridge, the Snake Bridge, and they would protect. That's when Sherman had fallen back. He wanted to protect that bridge to guarantee Wallace could come. Wallace did finally arrive late on the 6th, but he came late. He was probably finishing up that Ben-Hur, that last chapter, which took forever.
It's funny. Ben-Hur was on last night. My mom messaged me because
I remember that. You mentioned that.
Yeah, and so I was like telling my parents that I'm like, this was written by a Civil War general. My dad was like, really? And I said, yeah, I just recorded an episode about it that he was at. And I said, I was telling them the background to Ben-Hur about how like Ben-Hur's friend in that is actually General Grant. And this was kind of Lew Wallace's way of telling the story of what had happened, but he sets it in ancient Rome. And I was telling them that the chariot race in Ben-Hur is actually based off a horse race that Grant and Lew Wallace had that Wallace won.
If you watch Ben Wallace, the movie, right? Not Ben Wallace, Ben-Hur, right? Not Ben Wallace, the old Detroit Piston. Ben-Hur, the movie. If you watch that chariot scene at the end, there's a mistake in the film where you can see a guy among all the Romans wearing a 3-piece suit. He was a sound guy. So if you freeze the frame on your DVD, you can see a guy sitting to two Roman guys with a suit, a modern suit.
I'll have to watch. I need to watch it now. I wanted to watch it last night, but I ended up going.
I like that movie.
I really enjoyed it just because of the Civil War connection to it.
No, well, I mean, there's a dotted line Civil War. I mean, there's some. He obviously. It's kind of the basis of the whole thing.
Yeah, Wallace gets treated really badly, I think, by Grant in this, and Grant does come back and apologize to him.
You know what? He can go screw himself after the whole Surratt thing. I'm still not over that yet. I'm not over the Surratt trial yet.
Well, neither am I. But I don't hate Wallace.
I don't hate Wallace. I don't hate anybody except Derek Jeter, but it's a different story.
I don't like. Lisa says she loves the Ben-Hur movie. Yeah, it's really good.
See, Andrew's right. See, she nailed it. Charles Heston is tough to watch. He just is. Just because all those old timey actors. I mean, you had guys like Bogart who were really, really good.
Oh, right? I love Bogart.
But then you got the Hestons. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, Bogart is like freaking amazing. I love.
You know what was on not too long ago? That was on. I watched it. Was The Sting that was on TV the other day.
I just
put it on with Robert Redford. That's a good movie.
I do like him.
It has an awesome soundtrack. It actually brought that old timey. I was telling you before about I'll listen to Sidney Bechet a lot, right?
Yeah, I love that music.
But that old timey jazz, that movie brought that back in the mainstream. That soundtrack, the Sting, not Sting the wrestler. Well, Jacob's still on here, but the Sting was really, really good.
No, I've seen bits of it, but not the whole thing. But I have listened to the soundtrack. It kind of you'd probably enjoy Boardwalk Empire. Actually,
I love Boardwalk Empire. I love that.
I've never finished it. I want to, but I've never finished it.
I mean, Boardwalk Empire is, Steve Buscemi was, first of all, he's creepy good at that, right?
Yeah.
But that one dude whose face looks like he's made a freaking fucking linen fucking pillow cover. Yeah. Who's like a killer at the end. He's really, really good. But Boardwalk Empire is really. What the hell was that guy's name? Ned. I think it was like a real story. It was named after. I've been to Atlantic City. I've been on the Boardwalk.
I've never been there before. I wanted to go after I saw, Boardwalk Empire, but like I said, I haven't finished it yet. I need to restart it and watch it from the beginning.
I was there in 2016. I stayed, ironically, at the Trump Plaza. That's the hotel we stayed at. And what was happening while we were there was the 2016 Porn Award Convention. So all the porn stars.
Here we go.
There. No, I'm just
the Bang Barn.
There was a bang. But I saw Ron Jeremy. They were all there, just there in the lobby hanging out.
Oh my God.
It was weird. It was like God, but that was Atlantic City story. And the hotel, I blew up the hotel recently. The hotel was gone.
Jim said the Civil War is the Planet of the Apes. I'm still on this Jurassic Park thing.
Yeah,
about $1 million. But I'm never going to see Beauregard the same ever again, and Jurassic Park is going to be so different now.
Oh, definitely.
Tony says regarding Lew Wallace, verbal orders versus written ones. That's the controversy behind Lew Wallace. Is that and I'm assuming that's what Tony's talking about. Is when Grant stops where he is at Crump's Landing. He tells Wallace, okay, you need to go here. But then it's were the orders written down? Apparently they were lost. So somebody 191 to that one. It was his chief of staff, I think, that did that because he put it in his sword belt and the orders disappeared. So there was not, it's very controversial as to what Wallace was supposed to be doing and what happened to him. But I think Grant does kind of throw him under the bus a little bit.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Grant does that. He does. I mean,
he throws a lot of people under the bus.
And then look, Andrew, don't get all excited. We're not peeing on Grant here, okay? Yeah. We're just saying that, but that's a pattern for him that Grant does, right? Whether it be Wallace, whether it be Hooker, whether it be Rosecrans, he does what he does.
It is.
But you know what, though, the written versus the verbal, you know what, that sounds a lot to me like plausible deniability.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound a lot like that. Yeah. If things go wrong, maybe I didn't get the order, Yeah. That's how it was. I like Lou Wallace for the most part. I do.
Yeah.
The conspiracy trial notwithstanding, which is That it is always the first thing I think of. I think of Lou Wallace. I think of him. I think of the trial.
Yeah.
James Speed, all those guys. I do.
Yeah. Wallace was my introduction to him, was like obviously like Ben-Hur, finding out, and then from there looking more into who he was, and I found about Shiloh, and it just, I don't know, he's one of these ones that I think just shoulders too much of the blame, which I don't know, like Grant, I love Grant. He's awesome, but just the episodes that we've done, like since we started this podcast.
So you look my mug today for you.
I have merch. Well, this isn't our merch.
Oh,
this might someday be our merch.
You got the company mug today. Okay,
I do. Yeah, I love the company mug.
But there are a lot of guys. But actors. Yeah, Charlton Heston plays himself. Nicholson does. You know who modern day actor who plays himself in every movie is Kevin Costner. Have you noticed that? Every movie plays Kevin Costner.
Love Robin and Prince of Thieves, though.
Okay, that's fine.
I love Prince of Thieves.
But that's what makes like Tom Hanks so good. So he plays so many different characters.
Tom Hanks is my all-time favorite actor. I love Hanks.
Really? Yeah, he's pretty good. They say he's a nice guy too, which makes
I love Hanks. Hanks and DiCaprio are where it's at for me with
DiCaprio.
Actor.
Really
love
he's
DiCaprio.
He's very
DiCaprio could play Grant.
See, DiCaprio's a good-looking dude, and I think that holds him back. I think people associate him with that's why he's a good actor, but he's a good actor. Same with Matt Damon.
Matt Damon's good.
You could even call that movie.
What? Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Super
Hold
Troopers.
on. I love Super Troopers.
Yes, this mug, courtesy of Amazon. I posted this on I don't know, Twitter, one of these things, and the guy who this up commented on it.
Yeah,
the designer was like, "Yeah, I made that."
Well, my phone case. Andrea suggested this to the guy that designed it.
Very cool, Andrea.
Yeah, and this was my cannot get an Oliver Otis Howard phone case. This is my next best thing here.
Well, the buttons would be on the left side anyway. You have no use on the right side. So, hey, we'll go back to Shiloh here in a few minutes. So we got to talk real quick about our book club the other day. That was fun.
Oh yeah, the book club. Yeah,
I didn't mention that yet.
Yeah, some of you people were on
was anybody on who was in our book club? Ooh.
Yeah, like Wayne. Wayne was there. Snyder was there. There was a few people that were on the book club with us.
Yeah, that was a good time.
It was a really good time. I was so happy that Eric was able to join us. For those that weren't on our book club the other night, we had Eric, the author of Black Iron Mercy. He joined us.
Schneider was on that. Eric Schneider. He's a good dude, and that was fun because we reached out to him. He came on, and we didn't tell anybody we were going to bring him on.
Lori was there too.
Yeah, that's right. Lori was there, and Tony was there. Yeah. But that was fun because you know what's good about it? It was a good conversation. It was very laid back, and I'm glad we did it. That we didn't have the people submit the question. We have people talk to him. I
really like that.
Right. But he was a lot of fun. Yeah, Mark was there too.
Yeah.
That was and Thomas. Yeah, just apologize if you had you guys were on it. There's so many people, but that was a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So we're doing that again in the second quarter of the year.
Yep.
There's no guarantee we'll get the author on every single time, but we're going to certainly try.
Yeah.
But Eric, we've known in the past, and so he was good to have on. But he's such a good dude.
He's a really nice guy.
What's great about Eric, okay, is he's a firefighter. He's not an author. But what amazes me about that book is how good it is. Like you read that book and you're like,
good.
It's like it looks like somebody who has written 100 books has written that because the history's tight. The personality, the stories. I'm not an emotional person. I'm a black-hearted bastard, Mary. Okay, but even I got a little dusty with some of those scenes in that book.
Oh my God, right? I was crying when I finished it. Like I cried so much during that book.
Yeah, and then Eric's his father jumps on, his sister jumps on.
It was so cool to see them.
And he was happy to do it. And I'm glad you know what though? And I'm really glad for everybody who bought a book because of our stupid little podcast. Yeah. Because it made him some money. He's a legit good dude. He is.
He's just like he couldn't when Darren messaged him about the book club. Eric was like, "Why me? Like why?"
Yeah, he's like, "Why in the world are you doing?" He goes, "Why are you picking me for this?" I'm like, "Listen, I like your book." I got that book a while ago, and I read it, And for the life of me, I don't know where or how I stumbled upon it, but I just did. I remember sitting on the beach here in old Cape Cod one day with my 6-pack of little Yingling, right? And reading that book, going, this book is amazing.
It is.
And so I read the whole book. I'm like, wow, that is so good.
Yeah.
And I messaged him. I said, dude, your book is awesome. He's like, oh, thanks so much. And then when we decided to do the book club, that was still in my head. I said, we got to pick this book.
Yeah.
And you bitched for a while. You finally relented. No, you did. You were fine.
I think I was the one that suggested it.
Oh, no. Let's not get crazy. I suggested the book, right? You supported it. You wanted the Reuben book, right?
I suggested that one for the second one.
Anywho, but we had the book club, and we reached out to him a few weeks ago and said, you want to jump on with us? And he was like stunned. He's like, why do you want me to come on?
Yeah.
And he was nervous. So we're friends with him on Facebook too. And so the day of the book club, he's like, he has his Facebook status update was going on a book club tonight where I'm going to get my ass kicked for Killed the Girl. It was really, really funny.
It was really funny. He's actually a really funny guy. And it was just great to have him on because he's so down to earth and just a very so passionate about it, and he knows his stuff. Like he's done his research, and doing this podcast, we've come to meet not just him, who's an author, but also Lisa Samia too.
Lisa will definitely be one of our future book club books.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, definitely for 2022. We will be having one of her books as for our book club, because it's just such a poetry about Civil War is such a cool way to look at it and makes it way more human. But Eric's book it pulled me in right from the beginning. And I know Denise, one of the girls that was on with us the other night, she said the same thing. Like it pulls you in all the way through, and it's not just talking about the battles. And that's what I liked. It's talking about this human side to it. And I mean, there's so many different characters in there. And I can tell you, if you haven't read it yet, read it. You'll relate to.
You don't. I mean, everyone who's on here is a Civil War person, but you don't have to be. But you could be an average whatever, right? You could be a normal functioning society member, like our non-Civil War people. But you can be a normal person and love this book.
Yeah.
But this book is so good. And I think he mentioned, because somebody asked him, I think it was Tony asked him about an autographed copy of the thing. But you can, add him on Facebook and just tell him, say, from the podcast, and he'll message him. He'll probably send you an autographed book. He probably will.
Yeah, he's just happy that I think he couldn't believe people were reading his book, and it was just it was really nice to give him the chance to talk about it, because his book is definitely one that needs to be more well read in the civil, more read, books like that. Like his book definitely is up there with Shara for me. I actually have come to enjoy it more than Shara. I think it's better
than Killer Angels. I like it, but the thing about this book is there are so many times where he kills the hostage where you don't expect him to.
Yeah.
I thought, I started to read, I'm like, okay, I know where this book is going. I'm like, nope, not where it's going.
Yeah, Thomas just said that there's so many holy crap moments in the book, and there are, and it really and the battle, the battle scenes they're so vivid and real, and I would love to see this book made into a movie or a TV series, just something. It would be, I think, and Leonard City's story couldn't make it. Yeah.
But for those who read it, right, and are into the history like we do, isn't it amazing how historically tight it was?
It is.
He didn't take, every one of these books for the most part takes certain liberties on certain things, and we expect them to, except for the prose and all that. But how tight it was, and how he basically, you almost could feel the way that Arliss Jenkins, the primary character, felt in his experiences.
Yeah.
Because in the way he did the flash forwards and the flashbacks and the whole, it was so well written. And for some reason, I don't know why that book is not more popular, because it should be. It really should be.
I know it should be. It should be, sold in the Gettysburg Visitor Center if it's not already.
Now, I told him that if it goes to the movie, that I want to be in it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, we hung out with him for a little bit after.
I could see it now. Darren Weeks, Zooey Deschanel, in Black Iron Mercy. Hey, the dream lives. The dream lives. I was playing. Speaking of things, I was playing beer pong one day with Peter Farrelly okay, who's a friend of my sister's,
Yeah.
they're neighbors, and from the Dumb and Dumber movies. And we were playing beer pong one day, and I tried to talk him into putting me into a movie with her. And he laughed and said she would never be in one of my movies. I said, I would. It's like, all right, if I do another one, I'll go. Maybe we'll see.
He looked good in a red dress, Weeks. That's what Snyder just said.
Wouldn't be my worst Tuesday.
No. Ooh.
But no, anyways, so I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. I'm glad everybody who jumped on, because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be good. It was better than I thought it was going to be. It was really, really cool.
No, it was a really, really great time. And it's nice to give him some, like I said, shed some light on him, this person who just clearly passionate about the Iron Brigade and having people know who they are and what they did, because he was telling us that it's not really taught in Wisconsin schools anymore, which is sad. And the other thing we were talking about too is how, like, how the first day of Gettysburg is kind of underrated, and Darren and I, like, this is before we went, like, started the book club meeting. Darren and I said to him, like, oh my God, we're first day junkies. We love the first day. Like, it's so,
what's funny was when he said this, I may be weird, but anybody else like to go to cemeteries? We're all like, oh my God, yeah.
Yes, you're one of us,
Like, he was like, where the hell am I? He's like, I stumbled upon these people. I don't know. But he's good, and we're going to have on a future podcast when we do the Iron Brigade, so that'll be a good time.
Yeah, he'll definitely be a guest at some point, which is really, really awesome to have him on, because he's obviously done his research and he's very passionate about the Iron Brigade.
So if you haven't read the book, definitely read the book. Do yourself a favor and read the book, and we get no benefit whatsoever out of the book. We don't care, but we like to spread the knowledge a little bit with this stuff. And he's and plus, you know what though, you're supporting a good local guy who's a fireman. He's not some prick author. He's just a guy.
No, he's a really, really cool guy. But definitely check out. I've got the book right here, actually. Black Iron Mercy. Get it on Amazon.
And then you got to check out Lisa's book too.
Yes, I was just. Oh my God, yeah, Mind Reader. I was just going to. Where did I put it? I don't have her book with me.
Behind your stuffed animal.
Which one? I've got like 3 or 4 stuffed animals down here. Oh, I do have her book here. Nameless and Faceless of the Civil War, and her new one comes out on April 14th. You can pre-order it on Amazon now, called Nameless and Faceless Women of the Civil War. And the cover picture, if you go look at it, is actually her ancestor, which is really cool.
It's really cool. Now Lisa's awesome. She's a good writer, cool. Good poetry. So it's always good to appreciate the friends we have.
Yeah.
So anyway, so for Shiloh, go back to Shiloh again, right?
About $1 million.
Miss it like this the whole time.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. Forrest says they got more troops coming. They're getting off the boat. Bunch of Ohioans.
Nathan Bedford Forrest. It's Jurassic Park.
No, he'd be the hunter. That's who he'd be.
Yes.
Right.
He would.
Clever girl.
That's what he says to Sherman.
Throws the raptor on the horse, drives away, takes a shot, the last shot of the Battle of Shiloh. Yep.
He's riding a raptor. They're all riding raptors.
He jumps on the helicopter as that music starts from Jurassic Park as he flies away. But I think as we head into the second episode of this, we're going to talk more about the setup to it. Grant's going to set up that line up at the Tennessee River up at Pittsburgh Landing. He's going to really build a really, really strong line. But then he gets those reinforcements from Lou Wallace and Don Carlos Buell, who finally makes it. Yeah. And the funny part about Buell is you give your friend Henry Slocum shit, who I fully expect to be on your left arm tattoo, by the way, because that's what you should be doing. You're going the full March to the Sea.
I actually thought of that as my second tattoo, just for left wing, but I'm like, I don't really like Slocum that much. Honestly, I was looking at signatures last week. Remember, I sent you George Meade's, because I'm thinking of getting Meade's. I love his signature. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm really thinking of getting Meade's signature, because the Oliver Otis Howard one turned out so good. I love it.
It did come out really, really good.
Yeah.
But when we talk about Don Carlos Buell, but we talked about him though, right? So he's leaving Nashville, and they're gonna go meet up at that play at Savannah, Tennessee, which is a great name, to be where it's gonna be.
Are they gonna go in the rear door?
They're gonna definitely take the back.
So this would be 3 in the rear, 1 in the front.
but for whatever reason, he takes that overland route instead of takes the river, and it takes him 22 days instead of the 9 days as targeted. So really, if Buell had been there on time, this could have been a different situation. But he does arrive just in the nick of time. But the stars line up well for the Union. But we'll talk about the second day of this, how Grant's going to rebound, push them back. They're going to get pushed back to Corinth. And it's going to set up those future 1863 Western campaigns. Ultimately set up Vicksburg, and it's going to set up Atlanta, and it's all going to go from there.
Exactly.
But what's amazing as you study these battles, in all honesty, is how close they are. How close either way these things could have flipped.
Oh, they could go either way. We noticed that with Stones River, right? Like Stones River could have gone either way. Yeah, Andrea, I hope your dog's okay. Her dog got injured. Hope he's okay. Yeah, she put.
Andrea's had a shitty go of it lately.
I know. Poor puppy. Hope the puppy's okay. Wayne says the Duck River crossing really boned Buell on the march.
He's right, though. I mean, when Johnston finally got word that Buell had crossed that Duck River, he had to know they were coming.
Yeah,
but it shouldn't have taken him 22 friggin' days to get down there, though.
I know.
I mean, that's the thing. But who knows how that would have played itself out? But it is fun to speculate the whole what if thing.
Oh yeah.
But Lew Wallace is, he goes on a snipe hunt. He ends up way the hell in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Where he should have been there as well. He gets faked out by some Confederate cavalry thinking that's what the Rebs are. He goes up, he ends up way the hell out there. But he finally makes it. Yeah. But we'll talk about the final casualty numbers, and we'll talk about that stuff when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
But
Benjamin just book enabled here. He said Howard after the war book, Thunder in the Mountains. I have listened to a part of that audiobook. It's pretty interesting. It's about his.
You mentioned that book before.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's a good book. It's about his experience with the Nez Perce Indians.
I started reading Southern Storm again last night, by the way.
I'm still trying
to finish it. I know you.
Actually, I finished the audiobook. And Tony said, should he have taken the boat? I think
Das Boot. Yes, he should have taken the boat. It would have taken him 9 days.
Yeah.
But it said he took 22 because he went overland for whatever reason. Got stuck walking through the marsh and the woods and the clowns and the whole everything.
Well, I think Shiloh in the what if game is one of the bigger ones in the Civil War, simply because you lose the highest ranking officer on either side. I hope I'm correct in saying that, because I've been slapped all across the place for. One time I said McPherson was the second highest ranking officer, and apparently that's incorrect, and blah, blah, blah. On the Union side, there's a lot of debate as to who the highest ranking officer or second highest ranking officer killed in the Civil War was.
Yeah, it's tough to say because you assume Grant, but he wasn't really at the highest at that point, right?
No, but killed. Like Albert Sidney Johnston was the highest on either side.
Oh, you mean killed him in
there?
Yeah,
but highest ranking Union, like at McPherson Cemetery, it says that is McPherson.
Burbsy?
Yeah, Burbsy. But then some say it was Reynolds, and then others say it was the elephant guy.
Sedgwick.
Sad. The elephant guy.
You forgot Sedgwick's name.
I did for a moment, yes.
I think it probably would be McPherson out of that group. I think it probably would be. Mm-hmm. Theoretically.
You know how I get ripped on Twitter all the time. I got ripped for that one. I got schooled.
Yeah. Although Sedgwick was nondescript though.
Eric are saying it's Sedgwick.
But Sedgwick probably theoretically, I think Sedgwick did get his commission earlier, so I think it probably was Sedgwick realistically. Mm-hmm. But he was, I don't want to say he was nondescript a little bit, but he was kind of there. You know what I mean?
I think in the grand and in the deaths in the Civil War, the one on the Union that is one of the bigger what ifs is McPherson. And
it's too bad though that Sedgwick, that elephant comments is what everyone reminds me for. Can you imagine if that was your legacy?
Oh, that sucks. No,
I mean it's kind of unfair. It reminds me of
Beauregard's legacy is forever hold on to your butts. About $1 million.
About $1 million.
Mark says he's got to run to shoot a bunny for Easter.
Oh, happy your Easter. Yeah, happy Easter. Yeah, tomorrow's Easter.
Jim says, and then Lou Wallace counter marches instead of just doing an about face.
Yeah, well, you know what though?
He kind of fucks that out. Like
it's kind of like the long street. The thing about it though is a lot of these things, and this is where our friend Corey Farr, he kind of gets. I don't want to say he gets it wrong, but I don't agree with him. Was a lot of these guys are promised they'll be in the lead, so instead of just flipping,
yeah,
they turn and they snake, and it takes them so much longer. And I think that's a huge mistake when they do that. But if he gets there in the nick of time, that's the thing about it. This whole Battle of Shiloh is like a movie.
Yeah,
it really is. You know,
like I do actually want to read Ben-Hur to see all the references, because apparently he makes a lot of them to like Shiloh and all that, and just the fact he's basing Ben-Hur's best friend off of Grant too is really cool. I think it's cool how he factored all that into it, but he couldn't write it in the Civil War, otherwise it would be Captain Obvious, right? You know, that this is what he's doing with this, so he sets it in ancient Rome.
Well, you could have Albie and Howe play him too. Could put him in too. Another guy who fucked over Mary Surratt.
Yeah.
By the way.
A lot of people fucked over Mary Surratt, but not as much as Edwin M. Stanton.
Oh, Hancock.
Yeah, him too. I was
Hancock
just thinking him.
too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, go get Kate on here and she'll have a heart attack. But
I know.
Reality, you know.
Leonard says that McPherson is the only Union Army commander killed, because McPherson was commanding an army.
Right, he was a commander of an army, so that's why it gets tricky with the whole who is the highest. They all different titles, but a lot of them go back and when they got their commission dates, and that was a big deal. But if you got a guy who's a Sedgwick who got his star earlier, but an army commander gets killed, who was higher? At the end of the day, who cares, right? They ain't gonna make it. They all didn't make it, right? But it's a fun. It's one of those discussions you have at the Reliant Mine at 2 a.m.
Exactly.
Thrown out and you got to fight at some.
Yeah.
You got some.
It's like the first.
She's some fake person with a fake accent and pumping on you.
Hey,
well, I tell you, I got. But
first core broke first.
No, yeah, it's amazing how many. It is amazing. Real quick, digress real quick. What they do. How many stupid arguments I've gotten in Gettysburg, right? The other one that gets me is when you're sitting in a place. You're sitting in a place like Fourscore, right? You're talking, or the Blue and Gray, and you're getting these arguments with some of these people. No, you know what it was? It was Sweeney's Tavern.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were telling me about
Sweeney's, right?
Yeah,
where I got in this friggin' argument. Not an argument. It wasn't like an argument, but a debate over where James Smith's guns were placed on Devil's Den, right? That's what these fight arts. I mean, what the heck? I mean, I think where the 99th Pennsylvania Monument is, because it'd be in the high point, but people think it's down low where the tree is, where the Jen Price tree is, but that doesn't make any sense. But that's, you'd be surprised how many people get fired up.
People get so bent over just these
so funny
details, and we don't know. Like the other day, I stepped in it on Twitter because I retweeted something at like 7:30 in the morning, and I was still half fucking asleep, like out of it more than I usually am. And it was like, what battles of the Civil War would do you find them, like, would you teach or whatever? And I did not include Antietam in that list, and I heard about it, and I was like, fuck, and I'm like I still think Antietam's important, and then someone was like, you didn't include Battle of Atlanta, and I was like,
does it really freaking matter who gives a shit what you think? But Civil War fangirl thinks of battles are important. I mean, it doesn't fucking matter.
Like, maybe ask me why I think they're important. So I came back to one person and I said, Battle of Atlanta and the Atlanta campaign can't happen without Chickamauga and Chattanooga, which were two battles that I had mentioned. And then I had mentioned Stones River. And I said, and if you really want to get to it, Stones River is the catalyst that sets all this off.
It's kind of like, oh, hey, Amelia.
Hey, Amelia.
I'm glad you're enjoying that book. That's a good book. So, yeah, too bad you missed the book club, but that's we'll do another one. You'll get you. Yeah. I know you're busy. You're the busiest person we know. So
she's a prof. She's very cool, though.
She is. She's a patent attorney too.
Yeah,
she's way smarter than we are, Mary. Oh,
she's cool.
She's awesome.
It's awesome.
No, but seriously, no, it's good. Raises the bar a little bit compared to some of these delinquents that are on here, like Jacob. I'm just kidding. Oh, dude!
Everybody on here is amazing.
They are. You got. I've said it before. I'll say it again. The Civil War community is the smartest group of people I know. Mm-hmm. It just is, because it's good. It's laid back. It's fun, but it's a smart group, and you can have fun with them too. Even those people I was having a argument about, it was a battlefield guide, by the way, which is another stupid story. What was that's what makes it fun, though. It's just debatable.
Well,
right?
like the what ifs are like, we're not saying we're right and we're not saying anybody else is wrong. It's kind of like you and I were talking earlier this week about the whole Rosecrans having PTSD thing. That there's nothing written about that, but if you look at the evidence, how he was at
Probably. I mean, it's completely logical. Now, there's nothing documented that says it, so you can't say it. You cannot say that. But I mean, it doesn't mean you can't speculate, right?
Yeah.
The best part about history is that it's not science.
Exactly.
It's not math. It's not A plus B equals C. It's gray area. And the fact that a lot of these records got destroyed, and the fact that a lot of this stuff is still based on interpretation. Next week or a couple of weeks here, we're going to be getting into the Lincoln assassination, right?
Yeah, we're going to do Jeff Davis's.
We're not going to be doing a whole big thing. We'll be doing the Surratt thing later, the Booth thing later. But there's so much speculation about that trial and that experience that has become facts in the national mainstream. That is speculation. And so, I know I've gotten in trouble on Twitter that one before, Mary, almost exactly a year ago today. About stuff that allegedly was true, but it's still speculation.
I've gotten in trouble for stuff like that too. Like it's, but then getting back, like bringing it back to Shiloh, that's why I said a couple times in the episode, like one thing to look at this battle is, what is Albert Sidney Johnston going through psychologically, with the pressure he must be feeling that he has to deliver a victory. He absolutely like, this is make or break, that he's getting. The media is saying he's a shitty commander, and they're also saying he's a drunk and all this other stuff. Jeff Davis is putting pressure on him, but he's got like Donaldson and Henry and P. Ridge as well. And that is all factoring into this pressure he's feeling. And then I'm sure Johnston knew that the Union knew he was there. He had to have, because of the delay, like the rain delays, like your socks the other day.
161-1, Mary.
Oh, you talking about the Tribe again?
Who?
Cleveland. You talking about Cleveland again? I like it when you say they're going to win.
Cleveland. Never heard of her. Okay.
They're going to play in the World Series together.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Genius.
First. The dinosaurs rolled the earth. Speaking of Jurassic Park, that was the last time the friggin' Indians won the World Series, by the way.
They're going to win this year. They're going to go all the way.
They had a Triceratops playing center field, I think, in that one.
By the way, you're crackling again with your microphone.
It shouldn't be.
You are.
You're crackling. That was a stupid thing. All right. Well, I'll have a new microphone for next. Cigarettes like that. Do that.
Yeah, there we go.
Million. About $1 million.
Anyway, so yeah, Albert Sidney Johnston is feeling all this pressure, and as Tony just said, he's like, I'll show those fuckers. I'm sure that's what Tony put it in different characters, but I'm sure he's saying, I'll show those fuckers.
No, no doubt about it.
He has to prove himself. He has to prove himself at Shiloh. So when Beauregard says to him, and Bragg too, is saying like, we need to go back to Corinth and regroup and figure out a different plan, Johnson's like, nope. Hold on to your butts, we're going in,
But but I think he did have to prove himself though. But you know what though, he was in a tough spot though, because like I said, he didn't have enough soldiers, and he had to prove himself like a lot of them did at that specific time.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know if that was the prove yourself phase. That was probably more on Grant because of Halleck as far as proving yourself.
Oh, Grant has to. There's a lot of whole prove yourself in this battle. Sherman's got it too from what happened to him in Kentucky, and how he had to like leave the army for a while and all that. He's at his prove yourself too. And O'Connell in Fierce Patriot, which is it's a really awesome Sherman biography. He says this is where Sherman redeems himself. This is where he starts to become the Sherman that we see on the March to the Sea. But he's not quite there yet, as you said earlier. Like, this is not the Grant Sherman we see a couple years later.
Sherman, the thing about Sherman, okay, is he was a great battle formulator.
He
right?
was.
That's a phrase.
He was.
But as far as a game day manager, he wasn't that good though, because what he was more of a bob and weave guy.
Yeah.
But whenever he would attack, he would recklessly expose himself, right? Where he would attack frontally, and he would get beat back, and and I don't know, it's tough to say how much Claiborne was in his head.
I think he was in his head as much as Forrest.
I think he probably was, but I think he was more of a tactician. I mean, if you think of a sports metaphor, I wonder if Claiborne, if Sherman was more of a GM versus a coach, right?
Yeah.
Because when he got himself in trouble was on the battlefield stuff.
He did, and even Howard says that in his memoirs. Howard says that Sherman is he says Sherman's very intelligent. He's so good at coming up with these battle plans, but when you get to the battlefield, he kind of is like, okay, what do we do now? And this is someone who's fought with him. Like, Howard's been with him on, in Chattanooga. They fought together at Missionary Ridge. He's been with him on the Atlanta campaign, and he's, all the way on the March to the Sea as well, right through to the end of it. So he's got this, like, he knows what he's seeing, and he says he's not Grant or Thomas. He said those were the two Union Army commanders that were probably the best they had, were Grant and Thomas.
Well, I mean, yes, I would agree with you. I think maybe Thomas might be a little better, maybe.
Thomas, in my opinion, Thomas was the best the Union.
Rolling up your sleeves, the Rock of Mill Springs, is what I call him. I mean, as far as that actual battle goes, not that against Sherman. Sherman's Sherman, but I think he gets a lot of pub from that March of the Sea.
He does,
right? And I think the average mainstream person thinks he's just a guy who just kicked ass everywhere, and it just doesn't work out that way.
There is that perception of him, and could George Henry Thomas have done the March to the Sea? Absolutely not. Sherman was the man to do it, because
he was the only guy who could have done it. He was the only guy who could have done it, right?
And the people he selected in the roles that he did were perfect for those roles. They might not seem that way at first, but by the time you get to Columbia, it's a good thing they've got, the Christian general in charge.
But but if you flip, let's just for a second.
Yeah.
Let's throw Sherman in the Army of the Potomac, and he's at Gettysburg. Does he make a difference there? I mean, does he? I don't know. I mean, it's one of.
He's not.
It's tough. That's what I'm saying. It's tough to say. He was meant for what he did. That scare the piss out of the people.
Yeah.
Win a war of psychological aggression. He was more of a psychological guy than a physical guy. We saw that throughout it. He struggled at Kennesaw. He struggled at Missionary Ridge. He struggled. Here. But that doesn't take away from him. It just means that people have different mindsets and different skill sets. But he was perfect for March to the Sea. But I don't think if Grant didn't exist, if the Terminator went back and killed his mother years before and Grant was never born, I don't think Sherman is Grant. I don't think that's who he is.
No, Sherman and Grant definitely needed each other. They had a very unique friendship, I think, in how they worked so well together. And I mean, again, I'm bringing up the Christian general. Howard writes about it really well in his memoirs about how
Howard is my favorite general, as opposed to General Sherman, my favorite Western general with red hair and a beard. My favorite cavalry guy is Jeb Stuart, in the East only. My favorite general born on St. Patrick's Day is Winfield Scott Hancock.
I'm an IPA girl. Go back and listen to our first episode if you haven't yet.
Train wreck. But
the first 5 minutes,
the first 5 minutes of the book.
We listened to it the first time and we're like, this is like, we did okay. And then now we're like, oh my God, don't play that.
No, God, you watch it later on. It's like watching a freaking, I don't know what it is.
Oh God. Ryan said that Sedgwick got Major General on July 4th, 1862, Reno and Mansfield, July 18th, 1862, and Burbsy on October 8th.
Yeah, I mean the dates is the big thing, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's off the top of your head, but it's one of those things you just got to kind of figure out.
But I mean, great for going and googling that stuff for us.
No, definitely. Yeah. But it's fun to say. But only one was mentioned elephant got shot, so we'll keep that in mind.
The elephant guy.
No. But no, it's important when you look at this stuff though, because a lot of these battles that, like I said before, they lead to these big battles. Shiloh is going to be the culmination of a handful of big battles.
Yeah.
Now, what's going to be troubling for the Rebs on this one is they pulled everyone together, but they didn't have the time to prepare them and get ready for this. We mentioned before about the uniforms and the weapons.
Yeah.
The weapons was the big thing. They just didn't have the guns.
They didn't have the they didn't, and I mean, that goes back to what Sherman said about secession. You guys don't have the factories that we do in the North to manufacture this stuff. And he's right.
Well, I mean, I think at that point you had a situation where you just didn't have the union. There was, I don't know if this is true, but the old phrase was for every factory worker the Rebs had in the South, the Union had a factory.
Yeah.
Now, it might be hyperbole. Who the hell knows if that's true? But that was a phrase that existed at the time. So they had the might. So the Rebs always had an issue. Now, the blockade was keeping the Enfields away from England to get through there. But that was slowly getting through. But only 10,000 troops out of the 40 or so that Johnston had adequate weapons.
Yeah.
That's it. Now they had pretty good artillery though. They had good artillery.
Yep.
But they didn't have the rifles, and so when you have all these men, you think about all these guys that Bragg had sent in, guys, Withers and these dudes sent into the Hornets' nest with these inferior weapons and sends them in piecemeal.
Yeah.
Guys like Gladden and Chalmers and John K. Jackson. I mean, these get one after the other. Couple hundred, 1,000 at a time when you could have sent the whole band in.
Yeah.
And there was issue with terrain, there was a lot of stuff and stuff like that. But they just didn't have the guns. And that was the big issue for the Confederacy, was the weaponry.
Yeah. Yeah. It was Tony, I think it was Tony who said technology disadvantage. Ryan, Enfield native, she who must be obeyed, perked up there. He threw the bat signal to his wife.
Oh, there you go. I thought he said hello. Just so you know, Ryan, I have an Enfield Tower 1853 musket that was used at the Battle of Gettysburg in my personal collection, which I got one time from an antique person. So I have that. So if I'm ever attacked, I'm ready. I am a gun owner.
Lock and loaded. Hold on to your butts.
When I don't have any bullets, don't have any powder, but I can look brave though.
Hold on to your
I'll
butts.
sit there. How many bullets you got? About 1 million.
I will never look at Miracle right now.
There's that movie again, poor Samuel Jackson, man. But that's true though. But it's true. But they just didn't have it, and so this is one of those times they had the men, but didn't have the weapons, right?
Yeah.
They still should have won though. They still should have won. They had better luck, I think.
Yeah. Ryan's wondering, do you know which regiment it saw service with?
I don't. That's the problem. It's got initials carved into the stock. It's like JW, which could be, who the hell knows what that is. But I don't know. My guess, it was probably a Confederate weapon at some point. It was an Enfield, but at that point by 63 it had been passed over by a Coleman first grade picture day. So who the hell knows if that's who the hell actually had it? But I don't have the details on that, unfortunately. I wish I did though.
That would be cool.
I'm tempted. My friend Andrew, who's a police officer locally, says I can go up there and take it and test it to get fired, shoot it. But I don't know if I want to. I'm afraid I'll blow up my hands. Plus, no, actually, I'm afraid of it. I'm going to like it. I'm going to start shooting squirrels in my backyard, turn into freaking Burns. Get off my lawn! Start shooting a freaking mailbox with a freaking Civil War musket. Can you imagine? I'll make the paper that way. Can you imagine that?
That's my job, isn't it? To throw the rocks and tell the kids to get off.
You can throw a rock. I mean, you're firing mini balls at people. That's a whole new stuff. That's one of those things. I'll fire one and I'll be that's can you imagine? Nope. 3 a minute, huh? Let's see how many I can do. Boom!
Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, tell you about it.
Bob says, give them the bayonet. That's something that I realized was said a lot in the Civil War. As it was given the steel. Claiborne tells his men to do that at Shiloh.
That's a common phrase.
And do you know what Claiborne told his men before when they were firing off artillery? He's like, "Let's wake them up, boys."
Fucking Jesus.
He's like, I think he said something like, "Let's wake them up, boys." Tells the artillery to fire at Sherman.
Yeah, that's true. But Well, that stuff was pretty cool. But I remember when I got that gun though, the guy told me, he goes, just so you know, when you go back to Massachusetts, when you cross, he says, when you leave the state of Pennsylvania, it'll be the first time it's left the state of Pennsylvania since the Battle of Gettysburg. I was like,
Wow,
holy
that's
shit,
awesome.
that was pretty cool.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Tony said Bee Ridge shootout. Shocked more Bee Ridge
gun cost more than my first car too, by the way. Not for nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm shocked Bee Ridge didn't make it more into this episode. You and your
Why?
Hornet's Nest.
Well, we talked about a P Ridge a few weeks ago.
Bee Ridge.
I know what you said, but I mean, I blocked it out. Okay, it's very emotional for me. You seem to think it's some kind of joke. I don't know why you think that.
I'm gonna send you the pictures later today.
Pictures you want to shit, but oh God, but for real though, but I think it's what's interesting is we did like 80% of this battle on this first episode.
We did, okay? Yeah.
And so we'll talk about the rest of it before. When we do the second one, but it's really fascinating. And what's great about this is I think a lot of people. I don't know if there's anything on the TV coming up as far as any sort of TV specials on Shiloh coming up, because there's never anything. I mean, you can watch Chumley on Pawn Stars all day if you want, but there's really nothing coming up on Shiloh. But I think there's a couple of things on there, but
there's some good YouTube videos on there. There's some good I watched a couple videos about Shiloh. And then there's like I said, like Winston Groom's Shiloh 1862 is available in audiobook. It's really good. Mertz's book that I'm listening to right now is really good. Robert just jumped on. He was on the book club the other night too. He says, "Happy Saturday."
Hey, what's up, Steve? It's gone. Yeah, we just talked about the book club a while ago.
Yeah.
Good guy. Jumping on.
Jim said the second day always gets shafted. Jim, that's one reason why we wanted to do this in 2 episodes, to give some more light onto what happens at the second day. Because it is
usually, admittedly, it ends with the whole lick 'em tomorrow, though, and then they come back and say,
well, that's
narratively, so they did lick 'em tomorrow on the Corinth.
Yeah, but that's the one thing that Shiloh is very much in the Grant Sherman story, to the point where the Grant Sherman story seems to overshadow everything else. Like Lew Wallace doesn't get looked at as much. W.H.L. Wallace doesn't get looked at as much.
W.H. Wallace gets zero mention.
I know, none. Neither does Prentice.
Prentice gets none. No one even knows who Everett Peabody is. Do you know there's a guy named A.M. Wood in this one, Mary?
Yes.
Who gets no credit?
Did you know the Confederate battle line was 3 in the front, 1 in the rear?
Do you know how stiff that line was?
About $1 million.
About $1 million. We're going tomorrow, though.
Go under your butts.
Good Lord. But there's a lot of people. Shiloh is a battle. Look, I love my Gettysburg. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I
do
too.
Gettysburg, but Shiloh should be one that's studied just as much. I mean, guys like Prentice, guys like Thomas Hinman, Everett Peabody. They should be in the national mainstream. Now, I don't expect them to be U.S. Grant, but you talk to the average Civil War nerdling population.
Yeah,
they're not going to know who these people are.
But these are the men that deserve to be known. Like W.H.L. Wallace deserves to be known, not just for the story and the fact he dies at the battle, but him and Prentice, at that Hornet's Nest, are buying time. They're buying the time for Grant to be able to set up that battle line. And the other thing too is about Shiloh in the aftermath of it, and I'm sure we'll mention this in the episode as well, is that, the veterans would get together after for reunions. They would be laughing and joking around like, "Oh, hey, where were you? Stones River? Yeah, I was there. And then someone would say like, "I was at Shiloh." And the room would go silent, because that was kind of the battle that a lot of them, it was taken. It's a lot like Antietam. It's looked at a lot more seriously, I think, just because of the carnage there. Now, I do want, it's fought in the Western Theater. So, I mean, it still had that impact. But I think Antietam, because the photography that was done there and the fact there was an exhibit with that photography done, is what really hit home with how horrendous this war really was. But Shiloh is definitely one that needs to be up there even more.
Well, Shiloh is just the word Shiloh is a word that invokes emotion.
Yeah.
as far as it's just pain and suffering and
Yeah.
death, and there's so many. This was the first battle where these soldiers realized this wasn't going to be a pick.
Yeah,
This
even Grant
glory
realized
thing
it.
that was a lie. I mean, this was death and misery.
Yeah.
This was going to be. And it went on and on and on. But people definitely don't study Shiloh enough. And you know what's funny? Shiloh is probably one of the top 5 battles as far as the public mainstream goes.
Yep.
Gettysburg,
Yep.
Antietam. You could roll through them, but you know what though? It's maybe it's because of the West where it's just not focused on. Like I said before, no one knows who W.H.L. Wallace is.
Exactly. That's
No
the
one
thing when
does.
like people know the name of Shiloh, as you said. And yes, the Western theater aspect definitely plays into it. But when you ask them, okay, what do you know about Shiloh? They're going to tell you the Grant Sherman story. They're going to tell you that it was a Union victory. They're not going to talk about W.H.L. Wallace. They're not going to, they don't
They're going to
mention
tell you that Sherman rode it on his Raptor and won the battle.
Exactly. Hold on to your butts. About a million.
But that's true though. It is true though.
Yeah, and Lisa brings up the point that Shiloh means place of peace. And here's this horrific battle happening there. But yeah, like at the end of the day, it's just a Grant and Sherman kind of victory that gets talked about. And Jen Rowling made a point a little while ago that Sherman
Jet
almost
undulations.
Yes, Jen undulations made a point a while ago that Sherman almost glosses over it in his memoirs, and you got to wonder if that's because he sees this as somewhere where he was not at his best. He gets surprised.
He definitely was.
He gets surprised twice. He gets surprised by Clayburgh, and then he gets surprised by Forrest on the second day, and that's the other thing that doesn't get talked about.
Don't give away the ending.
Forrest riding in on his Raptor.
Don't spoil the surprise.
Think of the children.
Think of the children. Stop embarrassing the children.
Oh, that went out the door a long time ago. But yeah, it's one of these things where it's nice to bring light to these other stories that don't get told, and that's why predictable me shockingly went to the Clayburgh biography to read about it from his perspective. But in reading about it from that perspective, like Simmons actually writes a really good lead up and gave me a better understanding of what was happening beforehand, what was going on in the days leading up to the battle. He explains it really, really well. And I actually suggested it yesterday in that discussion we were having on Twitter with Joe as a book to, even just reading that part, it gave me a better understanding for the lead up and kind of the politics that were factoring into this and just how green these men were. Like, this is Clayburgh's first big battle. He's been made Brigadier General on March the 4th, and he's leading the men in marching to Pittsburgh Landing, but then he's the first to go in. And that's another story that doesn't get talked about that is going to really, like, that stays with Sherman. And I think this is where that kind of rivalry that they had begins.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Eric jumped on. What's up, Eric? We were just talking about the book club the other day, man. We're talking about your Black Iron Mercy book. Eric Schleinlein's jumping on.
Hey, author's on here of Black Iron Mercy.
So say hi to him, everybody. We missed you. Ears must have been burning. We were talking about your book a little while ago. We were waxing poetic about your book about poor Arliss again. But that was good.
And how you think, oh, it's going to go one way. Nope, killed them off again. I thought J.K. Rowling was bad for killing off characters.
Oh my God, tell me about it.
Eric took it to a whole new level. But
how many times I yelled, "No, you didn't!" when I was reading that book the first time. It's too funny. But anyway, hey Eric, thanks for jumping on, man. Hey, I hope you had a great time tonight. That was a lot of fun tonight. That was very well received. I know it was great to have you on. I know a lot of people appreciate it. I think you had fun too. That was good. I hope. And just so you know, awesome. Eric, I just bought your other book on Amazon the other day.
So did I. We bought it the other. We both bought it the other night. So we're gonna read your other book too.
So the next Spotted Cow was on me, literally from Amazon. So there you go.
And the Canadian too.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that the other book that he wrote too. But yeah, the book was really, really good.
Yeah, that was fun though. It was definitely good to do that. When I went to Milwaukee, it's funny because it was maybe think about last time I was in Milwaukee. I've been in Milwaukee a handful of times, and we'd go to Miller Park and we'd sit there and go to the games there. And we'd go to those bars and those breweries. And then Milwaukee's a fun little city, man. Have you been to Milwaukee?
No, I've never been to Wisconsin.
So I went. Listen to this one. So 2000 and I don't know, it was 5 or 6 or so. I went to opening day at Wrigley Field at 1. Saw the Cubs play the Cardinals. And then I went to Miller Park for opening day Brewers versus Arizona at 7. With the 2 open days on the same day.
Wow,
how cool was that? And so we went to, we go to Miller Park, and we've been drinking all freaking day. So we get there, we go, can I have one ticket to the baseball game, please? You know, so the guy goes, well, okay, it's opening day, so we have a special for Wisconsin residents. So for Wisconsin residents, it's only $10 to get in.
Wow.
For non-Wisconsin residents, it's $25. So the woman's like, what Wisconsin county are you from? And I'm like, I don't know. And she goes, because if you just tell me Wisconsin county, it'll be $10. She's like, telling me. And I'm like, I don't know. And then she's like, have you ever been to so-and-so county? I go, yep. Well, okay then, $10. It's just so funny how it was. But those games are so much fun. That's a beautiful ballpark, Miller Park. I don't know what the hell it's called now. I think it changed the name. But we sat right there, and we were in right field, and I sat there, and right to my left was where that slide is, where the dude slides down.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
Eric posted that GIF the other day, didn't he?
And I remember that guy, which we were yelling at him the whole game. Like, and he was like staring at us, the mascot, the whole time. He just staring. That was a fun day. That was a good time.
Snyder says, whenever I heard Milwaukee, I think of Alice Cooper. Yes, Pete, it is. Actually, it's pronounced Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land.
That was funny. But I wasn't there for a bunch of times. Milwaukee is a cool place. Wisconsin's fun. But Milwaukee was fun. But yeah,
I do want to get. I like my post-COVID travels include a trip to Wisconsin, just because of like, I've always like the Iron Brigade was the first Civil War brigade I really looked at in detail, and I remember doing a lot of research about it a few years ago when I wrote a blog post. I was initially going to write just about John Gibbon, but then I ended up doing a post about the Iron Brigade and how they got their name at South Mountain, and their history is really, really cool and fascinating. Like
it's called American Family Field now. Why would you change it from Miller Park? God, Milwaukee, it's Miller. Laverne and Shirley, it's the whole Squiggy. That was a whole dude. Why would you take it away from that?
Eric says he called it the keg.
You gotta make that. You gotta fix that, man. Eric, that's on you. You gotta get that back to Miller Park. You know, Laverne and Shirley Stadium at worst. Pick one. But I think it's one of the two. You know.
Oh, Leonard said he's wearing his Iron Brigade shirt right now. That's very cool.
Very cool. Well, Eric is going to be on with us as a special guest on our podcast here.
Sometime.
We'll pick a day here sooner about the Iron Brigade. So we'll have him on. We'll talk.
Yeah, because we thought he was the perfect person to come on and talk about it, because he's clearly very, very passionate about it. He's a lot like us, you know, and how he looks at history and all that. So it'll be really fun to have him on to talk about that, because that was the first brigade. Shockingly, it was not a Western Theater Brigade I got into. It was It was the Iron Brigade, and simply because of the first day at Gettysburg. And what led me to it was reading about Reynolds, and then from there I started reading about the Iron Brigade and John Gibbon, and then how they got their name at the Battle of South Mountain.
You know, I'll be honest. Laverne and Shirley Stadium is in my head now.
Kind of like "Hold On to Your Butts," said in Creole.
God, can you imagine that? You put that theme song at the beginning, the Brewers take the field.
What, the Jurassic Park
theme
song? I know you meant Laverne and Shirley.
You know, my brother Ricky Weeks played for the Brewers. Not my brother, but I actually had a T-shirt for the Brewers T-shirts that had Weeks in the back, because it was Ricky Weeks. Different family, obviously, but I got to wear that for once.
Well, I told you yesterday I was going to get an Indian jersey and get long streaks on the back of it.
Yeah. And they Brewers have my Brock Holtz-Mary. I love Brock Holt. Played for the Red Sox for a while. Now he plays for the Brewers. Oh, I love him. I think he still plays for the Brewers. I think he does, but he was awesome.
You know,
those old stadium
to be on the podcast, by the way.
No, we're gonna have him on, and that's gonna be a great one. We'll have Eric. We'll talk to you soon about that. We were talking about that at the Civil War Breakfast Club World Headquarters very recently about when we're going to have you on. Probably within like the month or so, if you're available. We'll talk about that. So
yeah, no, we definitely you're the Iron Brigade person to us, so that's really
that'll be good. So
I
think we can kind of wind this down pretty soon. It's almost that time.
I know, unfortunately. I do like hanging out with everybody.
It is. We're gonna hang as long as you want, but 12:15 is usually when
I know.
P o'clock starts to hit. To be honest.
Oh, Robert's an Indians fan too. Awesome.
Indians fan. Are they still called the Indians? I don't know.
Hey, Eric, you keep talking Brewers and you'll lose. You keep talking Brewers.
I'll be honest though. That old Brewers uniform with the hat, the old Gorman Thomas Brewers, Eric, with the pinstripes. There you go right there. I mean that's solid right there. You want to talk about old school right there. But yeah, Laverne and Shirley, God. So when I went to that game, and so they didn't serve spotted cow, Eric, at the stadium, which I was very disappointed with. But they served Miller everywhere. So my friend Tom from Arizona, admittedly, he sucks. He just be a guy. But so we get there, and he's like, "Can I get a Bud Light?" And the guy's like, "Do you mean a Miller?" She goes, "No, a Bud." He goes, "I'm going to give you a Miller." Like, we're in Milwaukee. You got to get a freaking Miller. So she pours a Miller, and he goes, "Bud." It's pretty funny.
Leonard said, "Isn't it the Cleveland Baseball Club now?" Yeah, they haven't officially changed the name, and it's weird how it's being talked about on the media right now. But yeah, Robert, just I see that you're an Indians fan too, which is awesome. I was saying to Darren yesterday, I want to get an Indians jersey, but I want to get Long Street on the back of it.
That's funny. Indians are cool. Indians are cool. A friend of mine plays on the Indians. He's on the roster.
Yeah,
so
I mean, as much as you and I bust each other over the Sox Indians thing, I do like Boston has always been like a team that I've really loved watching. Like if the Indians,
there's no comparison with the Red Sox Indians, by the way. It's not just so you know.
They're going to play in the World Series together.
Absolutely. They're going to hoist the Stanley. Whoever wins is going to hoist that
Stanley Cup.
No.
Not one of my finer moments on the.
No, it wasn't.
That was, yeah, and I completely missed it when that happened.
No, but the Indians are cool. It's a great ballpark too. Cleveland's a fun little city too. But I'll be honest, I do like Milwaukee. That is a fun.
Well, I need to get there. I have so many places to go post-COVID. Mm-hmm. Nicholas says that he says, "Thanks, guys. Nice refresher for my trip to Shiloh for the anniversary next week. Oh, that's awesome. Have a great time." He said, "We'll have to watch Jurassic." He's going to watch Jurassic Park on the flight to Memphis. Jesus. About $1 million.
Hey, Nicholas, what's going on, man? But when you go to Shiloh, make sure you don't just go to the Hornet's Nest or to the Peach Orchard. Go to the other places you go. There's so many cool places to go. And when you report back to us that the sunken road is not sunken, that's very important. Okay?
Yes.
That's not, it's a sunken road.
It's to do with like how the land is. And I said it was because of a rolling hill.
And then when you go to Shiloh, it'll say, this is where, this is where the 62 guns were put out. It's 53. So take a picture of the sign that says 53. Not 62.
Is this like this whole who was at the fucking Chickamauga night meeting with Greg? Like
no, because I was right about that too. What this was about, this is similar to the how many guns the Rebs had at Gettysburg, right? On July 3rd. It was 147 guns. You hear, I don't care what they tell you. My friend Matt, who's a ranger there, tells me it's 147, so it's 147. I take it as gospel. But some people tell us it's more, 147 guns.
It was also just 25 assaults thrown at Thomas.
Not 24.
You said 26 in the episode.
No, I said 20. I said 25. You said 24. Yeah. I'm going to sit here and be right. So I'm just going to enjoy it. Okay. Okay, fine.
Jim said he's headed to Shiloh on the 17th too. That's very awesome, Jim. Make sure you post pictures on Twitter or even just to our Facebook page for Civil War Breakfast Club too. And if you post them on Twitter, we'll retweet them as well. Like, so anybody who visits battlefields, post the pictures and tag at Civil War Breakfast Club, and we'll make sure they get retweeted just so everybody else can see them too. Because it's really cool to see when people visit these places. Mark, who's not on here, Mark Blanchard, he often will tag us and stuff too when he goes to Gettysburg, which is cool. He wanted to go to some of the Iron Brigade monuments the other night. Like he was telling us that before the book club. Mm-hmm. He sent us a message and saying he was like, or no, he told us on Twitter, he's like, sorry, never mind, I'm getting it wrong. It was in an email. He wrote us an email and said, I wanted to go to the Iron Brigade monument tonight.
You have your good days and your bad days. It's fine. Okay. But Robert, you grew up in Cleveland. I know that. Cleveland's a fun city too, though. It's what the hell? It's Cleveland Flat is a fun place to go. My dog doesn't like your voice. He's boofing.
I'm glad he's
like Kavanaugh boofing.
I'm glad he's okay though.
Yeah.
Glad the dog's okay.
That sucks.
Yeah. Hopefully he's okay.
I have a dog.
I know you have a dog and a cat.
A dog named Cooper Union.
Yeah.
After a Lincoln speech. I have a cat named Butler because he's
Butler. He's our Floofy Brigade commander.
He is definitely.
And we saw Eric had a cat the other night too. The cat was the first thing I saw. I'm like, oh, he's got a cat.
Have you noticed though how many Civil War people have cats?
Yeah.
That's like the thing, right? I agree with that. I think it's good.
Yeah. Right. My parents always have had cats, and I've tried to name them Civil War names, and they would never let me.
No, I don't blame you.
I call their big ginger cat. I call him Sherman. You've seen him. He's a fucking tank. He's 25 pounds.
You sent me a picture of the cat recently.
25 pounds.
Yeah, that's a big cat.
The 10-pound cat beats him up all the time too. It's really hilarious.
Oh God. All right. Well, I think we can shut down here. I think we're about done for the day. So we've been going for 2+ hours here. So anyway, so we'll finish up Shiloh on the episode next week, and then we will move on to what's coming up after Shiloh.
After Shiloh, we are talking about
Jeff Davis' escape.
Jeff Davis' escape, and then we have to talk about what else we're going to do.
Well, we're going to be doing Iron Brigade with Eric here.
Yeah, we're going to be doing Iron Brigade soon, and then we're doing a couple episodes about Chancellorsville as well. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to start getting close to Gettysburg campaign too.
It's almost that time. It's almost time with Chancellorsville, all kinds of fun stuff coming. Assassination, we'll talk about. We got Surratt stuff. We got planned coming down the road. We got a bunch of stuff, bunch of fun stuff. So, so off we go. So anyway, everybody, thanks for jumping on. We appreciate it. It's always fun to do this, and it's always great to nerd out with people. So, so definitely appreciate the episode. Friggin' stupid microphone notwithstanding. So
we will get that corrected for
next time.
Ryan's got a question. What's the next book? The next book in the book club is Through the Heart of Dixie by Anne Sarah Rubin, which is about Sherman's March to the Sea and historical memory. Actually, I should probably tweet about that later today too, just saying we're on to our next book in the book club.
Yeah, that's fun. I'll be honest, that it's going to be tough to match that last book club.
It is.
That book club
really
we just did with Eric was awesome. That was so much fun.
Oh, I know. I'm just like, fun. I'm like,
we could have gone like Lionel Richie all night long on that one. We could have
totally. Yeah.
We had people.
Yeah, he's cool. He's a cool guy to hang out with too. He's great to sit and talk to.
You know what though? He knows his shit. He's a cool guy.
Yeah,
he's like the rest of us. He's a regular guy who loves the Civil War. He's not some pretentious prick who it's awesome. He's the best. He really is.
Well,
I honest to God hope everybody who read his book refers it to somebody else.
Yeah.
I want to see his book be up there with Killer Angels because my opinion is better than Killer Angels, and I want everyone to read it because it was such an experience to read that. I think more people read it, the better. It's just so good.
Yeah.
Plus, you always want to support a guy you like, and he's a good, obviously.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, and he likes visiting cemeteries and walking around in them, which is what we
Who doesn't?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, everybody have a happy Easter and a great weekend. Thank you as always for jumping on here and just nerding out with us. We enjoy hanging out and talking about the Civil War, and we're glad you guys want to join us for that. And thank you for listening to the podcast. And we will have the sound issues corrected for next week for sure. Not that it was
passive aggressive bullshit right there. Hey, it works over here. I'm sticking my ear. It sounds pretty good. It's fine. It's just the problem is the beard's growing and so much the hair gets on it stuck.
I was not trying to be passive aggressive.
I'm talking about your beard, not mine, by the way. You are Canadian. Anyhow,
I am.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, everybody.
Anyway, thanks for jumping. Happy Easter, everybody. Enjoy. Have a safe weekend. Get your goddamn vaccine.
Yeah.
And we will look forward to talking to you.
When your government makes it available to you, which is not the case where I am right now.
Yes, definitely. The more the better. I need to get my ass to Fenway soon and not pay $1,000 a ticket because 10 fans are allowed in. So
yeah,
let's get this shit done.
And I need to be able to cross the border again.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, have a great weekend. Happy Easter. Enjoy your weekend. And Mary, as usual, like I said, the pleasure is all yours, as always. Okay. Number one. All right. Well, on the other side.
See you guys later.
All right.